STL. Alex, I sent our notes last night, and I said, I don't really have a takeaway from this game. I watched it from start to finish.
I did not do that.
The Cardinals did not score a run. Their pitching did not look overly impressive. There wasn't much to take away. And then T-Bone came in this morning, and I'll be damned if he didn't come in with a lot to have for the table today with our show. He mentioned, hey, guys, the Cardinals aren't scoring a whole lot lately. Like, yeah, you're right. He said, have you looked at how often they've been shut out? He brought some of the numbers to the table, and then we started researching and digging and looking more and more into it. Hot damn, this offense sucks.
Damn you, T-Bone.
My God. Cardinals games 1 through 68 this season were shut out twice. 2 times. That's really good.
I felt like the comeback Cards.
They did.
Only Boston and Arizona had been shut out fewer times than the Cardinals through the first 68 games of the season. All right, I can get behind that. You looked at the overall numbers. They were 8th in Major League Baseball in offensive production through the first 68 games of the season. And then, that glorious 69th game.
The best one out. The best game of a season is the 69th game.
As Chip Carey would say.
Yes.
They get shut out in the 69th game and have been shut out 9 times in their last 40 games. 9 shutouts in a 40-game stretch, including last night.
You want a wild one to back that up? On July 1st, they were plus 37 in run differential. Now they're minus 8.
So they've been a minus 45 in their last
30 days. So with a week off, probably like
games?
20 games.
Not only is our offense sucks, those are pitching then.
You have been shut out in nearly 1 out of every 4 games. That is the most shutouts over the last 40 games in Major League Baseball. Cleveland is second with 6. Kansas City, and boys, I will tell you, that offense is hot garbage.
Yeah.
They have been shut out 5 times, almost half as many as the Cardinals in the last 40 games. They have the 3rd most shutouts in the last 40 games of the regular season. So, yeah, your offense has been stinky. You are 23rd in offensive production since June 11th. Alex, what do we make of this? Because this is supposed to be the good part of the team.
This was the part of the team that I was optimistic about. That I thought, hey, if they miss the playoffs, if anything, you're going to end the season saying, well, you got an offense that you can believe in. And now you can't say that. I mean, the run differential on top of the shutout goes to show you that the pitching has just been brutal. But on top of it, your offense is falling flat. And I don't know if you make it to where, you've lost Lars Nootbaar, and that's been kind of the guy that seems to be an engine for the team. To me, that's just an excuse because you got multiple guys on this roster who should be able to take their game to the next level. What I make of this is, man, what was supposed to be a win for the Cardinals in this runway season now feels like their ship is further out to sea with no rescue boat in sight. Because at least if the pitching was awful, you're like, okay, well, we just drafted somebody 5th overall. It makes sense. This team doesn't know how to evaluate those guys. They'll develop the ones that we're thinking with Quinn Matthews and TK Roby and then with Liam Doyle. You thought there was a rescue boat coming to save you. But now your offense is getting shut out consistently. You don't have guys who are consistent threats for you like they were in the first 3 months of the season. What that tells me is you got a lot more work to do, Hein Bloom and company, than what I thought you were going to have to do back at the beginning of June.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of it because early on they were fine. And I don't think it is injuries are the biggest thing that are causing it because they're missing, 2 regulars, maybe? And I don't even know if Gorman should be considered a regular because they had trouble finding him into the lineup. So really you're missing 1, and it's Nootbaar. And it's not like that's like a significant piece, right? It's not like the Mets who Soto just left the game with a bruised foot. If he broke a bone in his foot, you would kind of notice it from the New York Mets a little bit. I don't know what to make of this. I think they're going to ultimately be fine. I think this is what an offense just looks like when it doesn't have a star. But the tough part for that is I just don't know. BK, what are you doing over there? BK, don't you sneeze while I'm making a point.
Damn, I couldn't even get to the talkback button.
It's hard to hold the cough button and sneeze at the same time. I do it all the time.
You can see it coming. I'm sure the YouTube stream looks ridiculous.
God, if somebody could pause that moment where BK tried to sneeze and screenshot it and make it their profile
T-Bone,
pic.
you were making a good point. I'm sorry.
I think.
Hold on, let's watch this all together.
No, we're on the radio, boys. I think people on the radio can't see it.
I think the problem for the Cardinals is I think this is what an offense without a star, 2 stars looks like. it's inconsistent, and it's going to go through stretches where it just looks awful like this. So I think that's where they are right now as an offense. So I think that's the biggest thing that you're seeing, because I think a lot of these pieces are good. These are good pieces to have. These are all nice complementary pieces. But when they are just on an island by themselves, they can't put together a sustainable offense.
I think a lot of it is Donnie. And I don't mean to put too much on him. Like, I'm not blaming him for the offensive struggles necessarily, but this offense is so reliant upon what he does at the top of the lineup. When he goes cold the way that he has since June 11th, he's batting .239. He's only getting on base 31% of the time, and he's not doing it with much pop. He's got a .375 slugging percentage, which was his on-base percentage. That's not good enough at the top of this lineup. You're still getting... Wilson Contreras has been amazing, guys. Since like early May, he's been awesome. He has a 150 WRC plus, which is basically 50% above league average offensively since mid-June. Alec Burleson, 40% above average. Herrera has slowed down a little bit, but he's still been good, just not hitting for the same amount of power lately. They've had some real production. Hell, even Jordan Walker, since June 11th, has been a league average hitter. Can't ask for much more than that from him. You're not getting the production out of Donovan. Mason Wynn has taken a little bit of a step back. Nolan Arenado's been every day in the lineup, other than, I think, Monday night, I guess it would have been. He's been terrible. Like, just flat out horrific offensively for you. You've been better when other guys have been in the lineup for him. So, yeah, they're lacking thump. They're lacking that top of the order production that they got early on in the season from Brendan Donovan. This offense went from something that you could really count on to once again being a problem for the Cardinals, as it has been in many of the recent seasons. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. If you guys want to get involved in the show, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line to do so. You can always check us out on YouTube at youtube.com/101ESPN STL. If you do so, you'll see Erik Kratz joining us momentarily. He's a former Major League Baseball catcher. He's now a co-host on Foul Territory. Alex, he joined us when they were at their spring training.
It was a great interview. I remember it.
Yeah.
We joked with them about how they made one move and it was a minor league signing. It was the pitcher that's not even with them still.
Yeah, and the Cardinals said no to all of their interviews. So he wasn't thrilled about the Cardinals at the time.
Said they're gonna suck.
He said that they weren't going to be particularly good, and hey, more power to him. He's been more or less correct so far this season. We'll get his thoughts on Ryan Helsley's potential destinations, whether or not he thinks the team will actually take a chance on what we're going to see from Nolan Arenado as well. Erik Kratz, former Major League Baseball catcher, joins us next year on 101 ESPN. Alongside Alex Ferrario and Tanner Hendrickson, I'm Brandon Kiley. Erik Kratz has some internet issues, but he's going to join us on the phone here momentarily to talk about what the Cardinals are going to do at this year's deadline. And really, I want to look a little big picture with Erik Kratz on where this Cardinals team is at right now, because, man, they're in a really interesting timeline. They have John Mozeliak in his final season in charge of the Cardinals. They're about to transition over to Chaim Bloom. And, Alex, the more things change, the more they feel like they're staying the same. Saw a report today from Derek Gould that we'll talk about a little bit later on in the show, where you're saying, hey, the Cardinals, according to rival executives, appear to be really pushing to shed some salary once again. He tweeted the following: a few weeks ago before the fade, the Cardinals expected ownership to support if buying at the deadline. As they now pivot to sellers, the Cardinals, quote, appear motivated to shed salaries like they tried to do this past winter. Wilson Contreras said, not happening. Sonny Gray has reportedly said, not happening. Nolan Arenado, we're not sure if anybody's going to be interested in him at this year's deadline. Miles Michaelis said, not happening.
Good.
So
There's no
here
trade
we
clauses.
are. Cardinals are in a precarious situation once again, and we are happy to be joined over on the Callier and Thompson hotline and on the YouTube stream at youtube.com/101 ESPN STL by former Major League catcher, now the co-host over at Foul Territory. He's Erik Kratz joining us here on the show. Erik, we appreciate the time, man. How you doing today on what is a crazy busy week for all of us?
I mean, how bad could I be doing, really? Like, just read the sign. So that's where I'm at. So I'm glad I could join you guys being at the beach. I know some Midwest guys they get more like lake beaches. You got to go a little farther. I'm fortunate I'm at the beach right now.
Well, the good news for us, Erik, is it feels like a beach here in St. Louis. There's no humidity. It's a cool breeze of like 85 degrees out. It's always great.
Yeah, or 120 with 90% humidity, as Sonny Gray learned last night.
That's the St. Louis / Milwaukee / Kansas City that I know. Yes.
Yeah, it's really wonderful. All right, Erik, let's get into this. Cardinals are in a weird spot once again. You called this before the season, mentioned, hey, don't really know how good they're going to be, but hey, they at least got some young players that you'll enjoy watching, all of the above. What are you anticipating the Cardinals doing at this year's trade deadline, Erik?
Probably the same thing I anticipated them doing in the offseason. But some of that fell through. And you know what? First, I have to say I was wrong. I had this Cardinals team as, you know, they were just going to kind of float through the season. They were just going to kind of play some games. I loved a lot of things that I saw. I loved a lot of the young players that were on this team. They're still on this team, but how they kind of banded together and what I would consider Cardinals players, mentality, and they're winning games. I love seeing what Ivan Herrera is doing. Like, I get it, he wants to be behind a dish, but when a guy like that's just hitting dingers, going on the IL, coming back, hitting dingers, taking over, really for the offense that I thought Wilson Contreras was going to bring them when he became behind a dish. So, all that to say, I love the fact that they're playing some guys in one position the whole year, and they're having success. I would love to see them say, you know what, great job, guys. We're keeping this core intact, but we're going to get rid of the guys, just the general guys that you would think. And I would love to see them try to convince Sonny Gray, who when I talked to him, he had left the door open. He said, no, in the offseason, no, I do not want to be traded. He wanted another shot in St. Louis. He loves St. Louis fans. He loved the fact. That's why he signed there. He's like, no, I don't want to leave. Like, I want to be here. I want to be a vet that can help this team win. And you saw him do that early in the year. I'd love for him to go back to him and say, hey, we can make you a piece in a trade that will bring us something back and put you in a legitimate playoff contending situation. Maybe the Cubs. I know you can't trade to the Cubs if you're the Cardinals. But I say the Cubs because other teams want starting pitching. And to me, I think Sonny Gray could pitch a game 3, could pitch a game 2 for a team that makes a wild card but has to play the last game of the season out, and maybe their number 1 guy goes on the last game of the season. So to me, I think Sonny Gray can slot in at that number 3 spot for a lot of teams. I just love to see them do right by the players that are willing and able to get traded.
Erik, I want to go back to the comment you made about the core, because that's something that we've talked a lot about this season, to where at the beginning of it, it felt like, at least specifically on the offense, they had guys that you see where the future's going. Now they've dried up over these last couple of months. Do you believe that the Cardinals have the right core to move forward with?
I think they have some of the pieces. And when you have some of the pieces, you do what Cardinals have always done. They go out and get the right veteran piece to fit in. I'm not saying they got the wrong veteran pieces before. I mean, Paul Goldschmidt was MVP when they acquired him, when he played for the Cardinals. Nolan Arenado, you didn't see the offensive decline that he was going to have. Two dudes that worked really hard at their positions, and they tried to supplement those guys with the core that they had. Then they were like, all right, we'll add Wilson Contreras. I don't think that was the right move for behind the dish, but I also think the Cardinals weren't ready for whatever catcher came in to part with Yadier Molina. People are going to remember Wilson Contreras as, crap, he didn't fill in well as a catcher. Well, you also set him up for failure. So to me, it's kind of a wash. But to me now, what the Cardinals have done, and I think when Chaim Bloom also is taking over and this new regime and the minor league system is kind of pushing, a different kind of narrative, I think you're going to see guys that are the young core not playing multiple positions. Look what Tommy Edman's doing over with the Dodgers. Is he still playing multiple positions? Absolutely. But I think Tommy Edman, if I'm not mistaken, won a Gold Glove at second base for the Cardinals, and then he ended up playing center field the majority of the year. But they had Lars Nootbaar in center field, but Lars Nootbaar was hurt, and then he was playing left, and then this guy was sitting, and then Brandon Donovan never got to play. Nolan Gorman. It's like this year it felt like that core was like pushing all to sit together at one position. They go to the park every day, and they're like, bang, I'm hitting in front of this guy. I'm hitting behind this guy. I know I'm leading off. You have a leadoff hitter, shortstop, Austin Wynns. I don't care. I mean, Mason Wynn, I said Austin Wynns, he's not the catcher. Mason Wynn, he's athletic. I don't care what his numbers say. To me, his energy, his spark, the fact that he plays a premium position, you got that. You have that guy, and I think those type of things to build around. Brandon Donovan, I get it. Should we trade him? No, you shouldn't trade him. Like, this team is, to me, I don't think this Cardinals team is that far away, but I say that saying the Cardinals ownership has a lot of freaking money. They have saved a lot of freaking money, and I know they would have loved to have gotten out from underneath Nolan Arenado's contract, but I also think there's more. I mean, every time you buy a beer outside of the stadium at the Cardinals territory, whatever it is, the Cardinals nest, all that area out there, that's Cardinal cash that should be going back into this pitching staff in free agency. This team should be primed for this free agent process coming up, unlike they ever have before. And I think they already have the supplemented part of the young core of this team, which I like a lot of pieces.
Can I read you something from Derek Gould yesterday that I think is, we agree with everything you just said, just to be clear here. Like that's the starting point. But I want to read you something from Derek Gould yesterday where he was talking about what their future could potentially look like. He said the following: as for the future, as one person with knowledge of the Cardinals' plans in the coming winter said, quote, don't look for a particularly active winter of shopping for them. He was then asked about the possibility of them trading Sonny Gray at the deadline, as you had previously mentioned, Erik, and he said, I don't believe injuries are a factor or driving consideration, but money is. If the Cardinals have a chance to shed his salary, they'll look to do that ahead of any other concerns. I'm just being as blunt as I can be. That would be their driver for looking for a trade for Gray. Clear salary, clear roster, give Chaim Bloom more flexibility and less budget spent. Erik Kratz is our guest here on 101 ESPN. Erik, when you hear that kind of stuff about the Cardinals and kind of the direction that this team may be heading in, how's it hit you?
It hits me like I'm going to go to the Cardinals nest. I really don't know what that whole area is called, so I'm calling it the Cardinals nest because it's kind of corny and kind of catchy. And I'm ordering a water. I'm bringing my own packed sandwich. I'm not putting any money into it if I'm a Cardinals fan. I have to give it to Cardinals fans. They have not come out to watch a team that they don't feel like the ownership, not Mo, not Chaim Bloom next year, the ownership has not spent into. And they're going to say, well, we've got Wilson Contreras. Well, you know what? You missed on one. You missed on one, and that's okay. You know who it's not okay to miss with? The Rays can't miss on a $80 million contract. The Brewers can't miss on an $80 million contract. The Cardinals, they can miss. It's okay. You need to be in on a franchise-changing type of free agent. And I talked about pitching before. If you don't see what Kyle Tucker's done in Chicago, adding Kyle Tucker to that lineup, like, I get it. They're not even going to come close to spending the $450 million that's going to plus to get Kyle Tucker. But to me, you need to be in there. You need to drive the price up for the Cubs to re-sign him. You need to drive the price up for the Phillies, the Yankees, whatever it is, if you really want to win. And that would be my question to ownership. Do they really want to win? Because I know John Mozeliak wants to win. Look at his track record. It didn't happen. Maybe he kind of got a little hamstrung. I know Chaim Bloom wants to win because I know him personally. And what he's doing, building up that minor league staff, building up that minor league, just the cachet in the minor leagues of great players. Look at the Red Sox right now. The Red Sox have like 6 guys that were in high school 3 years ago on their roster, all because Chaim Bloom built up that minor league system along with Brian Abraham, along with the coaches and the development of that system to have the big leaguers on their big league team that came from the minor league system. So Cardinals fans should be excited about that, but it doesn't happen unless you supplement that. The Red Sox just got rid of Rafael Devers' contract. You think they're not going to be in play for some of these big players to add to that contract because now they got out from under that contract? They're going to go spend it, hopefully. Hopefully.
Is that what they're missing, in your opinion, Erik? Like that piece that you mentioned, is it that middle-of-the-order bat, that Kyle Tucker-esque player?
Yes. Because when I look at, and I'm only looking at that as a catcher going into a Cardinals series. And I say, you know, I saw the era of Albert Pujols, Matt Holliday, Carlos Beltran, Lance Berkman. They had some studs in that lineup. Okay, then you push ahead. Pujols left. Now you had guys that were kind of role players in the sense of like Yadier Molina's offense was never like the big carrier of it. They were never like, but he was a very, very good hitter, knew the situations. Every year you had guys stepping up for this team. But you have to have somebody in your lineup that as a catcher, as a pitcher, you're going, I cannot mess up this guy in the order because it's one step closer to that aircraft carrier, to that guy that, man, he can really hurt us, or we always have to pitch around him. I think they have all the pieces that a rising tide raises all ships when you bring in that big offensive piece. Hey, look, I don't know if they were ever even in on the Rafi Devers stuff because of the position and, you know, they wouldn't have fit. But a bat like a Rafi Devers in St. Louis would have been awesome. I'm not saying he fits on the roster, anything like that. But when a bat like that is traded and you're not willing to go to free agency to get that bat, to me, you know, that's what the Cardinals are missing. Obviously, I think they need that pitching too, but that's always something that churns over each year.
We're talking to Erik Kratz for just another couple of minutes here on BK and Ferrario. Appreciate his time as always. All right, Erik, as the deadline approaches, one of the players that's very much in the conversation right now, seemingly over the last 24 hours or so, is Nolan Arenado. He rejected the trade over the offseason to Houston. Now Houston is apparently, once again, urgently looking for a third baseman after the Paredes injury. Maybe Arenado could be back in play for them. Do you think that Arenado still holds value for other contenders across Major League Baseball?
Yes, and I think it's the fit. I think where does he fit with that team? Does that team need a fourth or fifth hitter? Maybe not the fit. Does that team like I look at a team like the Blue Jays, and I'm not saying that he's going to the Blue Jays. I'm saying this team has doubled down, and now even this offseason tripled down, going to get Andres Jimenez. The offseason before, they had Dalton Varsho to just solidify this defense. Something's happened in Toronto where the ball's not flying as much anymore. Not the new dimensions it didn't make it bigger. It just something about it. The ball wasn't flying. It's starting to a little bit now, but they don't have a lot of slug. So a team like that has said, screw it. We just can't find slug. We are going to triple down on defense. So that's, to me, that's the connection. That's the area that I think Nolan Arenado is going to find a team in. Is that the Astros? Do the Astros say, in our small park, defense plays? Yeah, absolutely. Is that value quite there? Before, they wanted to pay for it. Now they have to pay for Isaac Paredes, most likely being on the IL the rest of the season. Like, it seems like a very significant hamstring injury, and he already spurned him once. It's like when you're in high school. You ask a girl out on a date, and you're like, hey, you want to go on a date? And she's like, not right now. Meaning, kind of looking for other dudes that are better looking or better at baseball. And then you come back to her and you're like, do you want to go on a date now? Like, we don't have a date to prom. Maybe, but what do I get out of it?
No experience there, right, Erik?
I wasn't talking about what are you talking? It's putting me in a bad place. I only got a few minutes before my show, so I gotta work through this. And her name, I will not even bring her name up on this.
Yeah, definitely don't mention Kelly. All right, Erik, appreciate the time as always, man. Enjoy yourself up on Foul Territory. We'll certainly be checking you out over there. All the best. Enjoy the next 24, 36 hours as we get closer and closer to this year's deadline.
Exciting. It'll be an exciting time for sure.
No doubt. And you guys have Ken
Thanks,
Rosenthal,
Erik.
Jim Bowden on today. Erik Kratz does fantastic work over there at Foul Territory. Appreciate his time as always joining us here on BK and Ferrario.
Do you like having fun guests like this? Why do you just... He said he wasn't going to name names.
No, sorry, I didn't.
He said no names, and then you do that.
I know. I just,
God.
remembered the experience. He's talked about it a lot. I just felt like maybe we could get it out there into the open.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, he wanted that.
We've seen a lot of reaction. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service X line over on the YouTube chat as well. Erik Kratz is awesome. He's fantastic. And I agree with like 95% of what he just said.
Same.
This team needs a reinvestment into who they are planning to be. I don't know if it's likely, though, man. I have always been a little skeptical on them spending, but I've always thought, okay, maybe now is the time, right? You go back to the shortstop markets of, is this the time for them to invest in a Trey Turner, in a Corey Seager, in a Carlos Correa? Is that something they would be willing to do? You go back to the Bryce Harper sweepstakes. Is this something they should be willing to do? They traded for Goldie. They traded for Arenado. Those are big deals, man. $25 million for Goldie, $30+ million a year for Arenado, but they were over the age of 30. And this is a time where the Cardinals are severely, the ironic part, Erik mentioned this, the ironic part about where the Cardinals find themselves today is they're basically missing the pieces that they added with Goldie and Arenado, the early years of Goldie and Arenado. And what they were missing then is the pieces that they now have on the roster with all of the supplementary hitters that are now in their lineup. So it is like the pitching went from one end of the extreme to the other. The hitting went from one end of the extreme to the other. They had the stars but lacked the supplementary pieces. Now they have the supplementary pieces but lack the stars. It's a really weird pendulum that keeps swinging wildly in one direction or the other, and they can't seem to find the right balance.
Well, and that's the frustrating part, because at some point you got to make a decision on the seesaw, otherwise you're going to keep going back and forth forever. Like at some point you got to make an aggressive move to go out there and get that star when you're in the middle of the asset accumulation of the complementary pieces, or when you got all those complementary pieces, you have to say, let's go out there and find that star. And that's the part that I saw a lot of people disagree with, when he said, like, this core actually isn't that far away. I know people hate to hear that, and we've gone back and forth of, like, maybe you don't have the right core, but if you put a Kyle Tucker who's this way this season in the middle of this lineup, I think we'd be acting very differently about their offense. Now, that's not fixing the pitching, but you are putting a impact bat who every team is like, how the hell are we going to get through this? On top of the Herreras and the Burlesons and the Contreras and the Wins and the Donovans.
Remember what we talked about with the Blues 2 years ago? Is this the right core? Are they building around the right core? Have they lost their winning culture? All of these things 2 years ago were said about the St. Louis Blues. They had Holloway, they had Broberg, core pieces that have been able to maximize what they have around them. Now suddenly we're talking about Army's a genius. He knew all along. He had this all planned. You add in Cam Fowler, another supplementary piece. Like, okay, Blues are back, baby. They are starting this contending window, and you keep adding, you keep adding, you keep adding. The question is, for the Cardinals, will they be willing to do all of that? I want to hear from you guys. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service X line to get involved in the show. Oli Marmol had a quote for the ages yesterday. I want you to hear it next here on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here with a Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. Cardinals got shut out last night by the Miami Marlins 5-0, and the rubber match of their 3-game set with Miami is tonight. 6:45 will be first pitch. Cal Quantrill will be on the mound for the Marlins. Miles Michaelis will get the start for St. Louis. The Sports Center update is driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. CMalondoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
ESPN.
Oli Marmol does a weekly interview on the Gas House Gang. It's really good, worth your time. And he talks about basically anything and everything that they have that comes across their mind. Oli Marmol, of course, is the Cardinals manager. And Alex, I wanted to play some audio from that conversation. This is via KMOX because I think it's something that Cardinals fans will appreciate about the manager and the way that he's currently going about his job. Go ahead and take a listen.
Like when you take a step back and you think about what we're trying to do over the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years and being able to sit down with time as well and talking through what's possible for this organization moving forward. I don't want to make decisions that feel good in the short term and then we're stuck in this middle ground for another couple years. I want to be able to, even in my seat as I sit here, I want to make sure that we're not sneaking into the playoffs every year. I want to beat people's ass and like you show up to the field. There's a difference between showing up to the field and taking your best shot and showing up to the field knowing you're going to win. And once in a while, you may get beat. That's different. I want to get to the point where this club and this organization is back to doing exactly that, which is you show up every day knowing you're going to win. And at times, somebody beats you. And in order to do that, we're going to have to make some tough decisions. But it doesn't mean that I'm not showing up today trying to win. I can guarantee that.
Love it. Love everything about it.
It's the mindset you want.
That is exactly what Cardinals fans have been saying for years, man. I remember, T-Bone, I think you made mention of this previously as well. I remember in one of his first press conferences, he said anything less than a championship in St. Louis is considered to be a disappointing season. And there was some pushback to that, specifically by John Mozeliak when he was asked about it. And he was like, yeah, he's young. He'll learn. But that's the mindset that you want to hear from the Cardinals, man. Baseball is different here in St. Louis. It just is. It took me some time to learn that. Hell, I'm still learning a little bit about that. Based upon my own upbringing in Kansas City, where it is not like this. Dude, we get to this time of the year, everybody turns their attention. Suddenly it's Chiefs season, baby. Like, Royals have April until about mid-June to capture the attention of the fans.
They get that long a runway even?
Sometimes.
Okay.
April to mid-May.
And if it doesn't go well, that's a cool. Training camp's right around the corner. We'll start talking about them. And honestly, in April, it's mostly draft season. So, like, May and June is kind of prime Royal season, and then we move on. Here in St. Louis, 365 days a year, we can talk about the Cardinals, and most of you will be tuning in. It's the honest to God's truth. And you may disagree with that. You may push back against it. We have numbers to suggest that is 100% accurate. I promise you. Here in St. Louis, the Cardinals are different. And the bar that they're held to is higher than in most other markets across America. Oli gets that. And he seems to have a keen understanding of it to where, like, he's willing to go through this right now as long as that's what's on the other side of it, right? Alex, my fear is they're going to get to that other side because I'm all aboard what Oli just said. Everything about that, totally cool. It's why I had belief in the plan that they had going into the season. But now that we're here, we're midway through the year. I'm not saying they've got to, like, press on the accelerator right now. No. Just don't have some of this stuff come out that's like, hey, we need to cut payroll again. Hey, we need to do X, Y. What? Isn't the plan to, like, find out what you have to then supplement the roster with what you're lacking? Wasn't that always supposed to be the plan? And now it feels as though that may be changing. So I love what I hear from Oli. I just wonder if there's a disconnect between that mindset and what's actually taking place at the highest levels within the organization.
I mean,
That's my fear.
I don't even know if it's a wonder that there's a disconnect. There is a disconnect. I mean, look no further than the decision when it came to McGreevy should have started for that game against the Braves and they put Fetty there instead. Like the front office, not just the front office, the ownership, they're the ones that make this decision. And I mean, I love everything that Oli said is what you desire in a manager. To have that mindset of when we come in, we are going to beat other teams' asses and know that we're going to win. But as he mentioned, there's going to have to be tough decisions moving forward. Man, you're right. But Oli can only go so far with these tough decisions. He can recommend, like, hey, this guy doesn't fit what we need to do, or this guy's not the person that we need on this roster. We need to go get this player. cool, but the ownership's not going to agree to that. To get to that point, you have to have a ownership group that says, we're willing to put money towards what you're talking about so that we can get back to that mindset and go back to the press conferences that took place in the offseason. Their mindset is, well, we're going to draft and develop and get back to what we used to do. Like, they're in denial.
Even though that's never been what they are.
That's what I'm saying.
It's
They're
so
in
weird.
denial mode. Like, so they're not in their right mind of thinking with this organization. So as much as I love Oli and love what he's saying, and I think he is the guy that could lead that army towards a World Series championship, it doesn't matter if your boss isn't willing to invest in what you believe in.
And I'm glad you mentioned ownership, because I think more and more lately we are starting to see, like, Mo's got a boss.
Yeah, this isn't Mo.
Yeah, Mo has a boss that he has to report to, and you can have your qualms with some of the decision, right? Like, he's given a budget, and then he has to operate within that budget. And if you want to criticize the moves that he has made within that budget, that's more than fair. There have been some real misses. And I think there have been times over the last few years in particular, there's a piece that came out earlier today over on The Athletic. Cardinals have made the second fewest trades in Major League Baseball since the COVID season. I think they got squeamish post Randy Arozarena. Like the Ozuna trade leading into the Arozarena trade, I think they were like, okay, we've got to find out what these guys can do at the big league level. And then they've been very cautious ever since. I would say overly cautious would be the way that I would describe it. But he's got a boss. And if you're mad at how much money they're spending, that's an ownership decision. I think mostly their spending has been fine. It's the way that they operate within that budget. I think now is the time where we can say, whoa, wait a second. What's going on here? You cut back spending this year to where you're kind of middle of the pack. Cool, if that's a one-year thing. Is it going to go back up to 10th to 12th? Or are you now going down to like 20th to 25th? Because that's a foreign decision here in St. Louis. This is like what happened in Boston, where they were like, wait, we're the 12th highest spender in Major League Baseball in Boston? What do you mean? What's going on here? Why is this taking place? And I think that's something that will be...
And you have to start asking questions as to why Chaim Bloom was the one that they thought would be the perfect one to take over in the two areas that he has been in before he got to St. Louis.
No doubt.
As much as Erik Kratz said that he believes in Chaim Bloom and saw what he did in Boston, that's great. But what you just mentioned makes a lot of sense as to why the DeWitts would be looking at this, connecting the dots of, hey, you know, we're going to get back to drafting and developing. You bring in Chaim Bloom, who's been on teams that just always sell off those pieces rather than pay. Man, you might be stuck in the middle for a long time and not get to where Oli thinks they should
and
be.
Just to be clear, like, if they're moving on from Arenado and or Sonny Gray because they're like, hey, these guys aren't worth the salaries that they're currently committed to, and we will reinvest that in other areas. And they don't have to spend like all of that money. But if they're unwilling to spend any money, that makes me very concerned on what the immediate future looks like for the Cardinals. There's just been a lot of breadcrumbs recently. And if it sounds like I'm like Chicken Little over here, it's because of the stuff that's coming out from Derek Gould and from Katie Woo and from John Denton, the people that know the Cardinals more than anybody, and from Bob Nightingale, who said recently, hey, the Cardinals are not willing to give the qualifying offer to Ryan Helsley in fear that he will accept it. And they'll be, quote unquote, stuck, oh no, with a $20 million closer who's among the best in baseball, who seemingly every team that is in contention right now wants to add to their roster. So all of this stuff is leading me to a position where what's really going on with what the Cardinals are trying to accomplish? And it's a weird place to be in right now. All right, coming up next, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line. Questions and answers here on 101 ESPN.
101 ESPN. You've got questions, we may have the answers. Maybe. It's BK and Ferrario's Questions and Answers on 101 ESPN.
314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers. Can I start out with a question of my own for you?
Sure, take time away from our listeners that dedicate their time to listen to us.
Okay, real quick. Are you interested, like when there is some kind of a severe weather situation, not necessarily here in St. Louis, but like last night there was the situation with the tsunami,
The
potentially
earthquake
hitting
on the coast of Russia?
We were up for, until like 1 or 2 a.m. last night just watching the coverage.
Oh, I thought because you were worried about the earthquake. I'm like,
in
man.
Hawaii. Hey, when is this going to hit? What is this going to look like? What can we expect? Do you guys watch that stuff too, or is that just me?
No, I'm a weirdo in the sense like there are times where I will just watch the Weather Channel, like the National Weather Channel, with like tornado season, hurricane season. I'll watch it just for that.
Interesting.
Yeah, specifically tornado
You
season.
guys do the same thing.
Yeah. I didn't stay up for that specifically, but like when that stuff happens, I'm on the Weather Channel.
I was
watching
up, saw it come across my Twitter feed, and I was like, I'm going to go ahead and watch this. And then I was watching that for
Dude,
like
I
an hour.
saw a video of a team of doctors that were operating open heart surgery when that earthquake hit. And these guys held the body down and the guy kept working.
I can't imagine.
8.8.
That's
I
the
think it's
biggest
like
in the
this,
last decade, or last 2 decades, I think it was.
the 6th largest ever recorded, something
Crazy.
like that.
It makes me a little concerned about going to Hawaii this time of the year for our anniversary because, it's hurricane season.
All right, let's get into some of these from the 217. Guys, who blinks first? Cardinals fans not showing up or the DeWitts?
The Cardinals. Oh, you mean that?
So, like, Cardinals fans
Yeah.
will start showing back up again, I'm guessing is what they're saying here.
I'm going to say the DeWitts.
I think neither.
I was going to say, I don't know if anybody's
Somebody has to blink. In the game of chicken, you can't just keep going at each other without
I don't know. That's the
colliding.
Or you
Marlins.
just don't
Them and their fans aren't
show
blinking.
back up, the team doesn't reinvest, and you end up in the spot that so many organizations in Major League Baseball
Or the
find
ownership
themselves in.
sells.
So I
I think that would be blinking, though, isn't it?
No,
I mean, if ownership gets to the point where they're like,
I think blinking wouldn't be
blinking
selling.
would be reinvesting.
Yeah.
Saying we have
See,
to
I think
spend at a
blinking's
loss. Okay.
because otherwise you just stick with it and you say, we're just going to keep doing this. We're going to keep bringing in money. We're not going to invest into this team. We're just going to keep making our money.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers. Guys, who on the Cardinals realistically should have a to-go bag packed today and really packed for tomorrow, kind of like a pro player prepper? I don't know what that means, but I would say guys that should be ready to go include Ryan Helsley, Phil Maton, Steven Matz. Those would be the 3 to me that I'd be pretty surprised if they're still on the team on August 1st. I'd add reports.
I'd add in, if you're preparing for it, I'd add in King and Romero. I think they should prepare. I don't know if they're going to get moved, but I would say prepare for it.
Yeah, I would just do the 3 impending free agents. I would almost be not completely shocked, but I would still be shocked if JoJo gets traded. Same with King, especially now that he left that game injured last night. And any of the position, I would be shocked if they move him.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line from the 314. If the Cardinals added a retractable roof, do you think the stands would still be empty? I think there'd be more people that would go just because it's less miserable out there. The last week or so, dude, kudos to every single one of you Cardinals fans that still went to these games. It is so hot.
There's people that
so
are wearing
hot.
T-shirts with their jerseys on at those games. What are you guys doing?
Gross.
Champs.
It's gross.
Not
So,
champs.
I think there would be more, but
I don't think so. I think it's probably the same.
I don't, yeah, because I think what there would be more of is more of the percentage of the actual attendance they announce would be
that's
there.
probably fair.
I don't think because the attendance number they always announce is tickets sold, not number of seat or number of butts in seats. I think that number would go up, but not they were at barely over 20,000 yesterday. I don't think that number's going
Yeah,
up.
I think the fans that have made their decision on this team, I don't think they're coming back for a retractable roof.
All right, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line. Guys, I'm bored with this team. Trade anything that's not bolted down. I don't think you're alone. I think there are a lot of people that just are bored.
Is there
They want to see
anything
something
bolted
new. I would say Ivan Herrera right now is bolted to the ground. I would say Matthew Liberatore, because you lack pitching to such a desperate degree.
I guess McGreevy and Palante are probably there too.
Yeah, he's cost controlled. He's young. He's showing some upside. That's a guy that I would not want to
Well, and
trade.
technically the no trade clauses are bolted down too.
Yeah, in a normal scenario where you don't have a top 10 prospect in your system that plays his position, Mason Wynn would be somebody that you're like not even considering trading right now. Now, because you have JJ Weatherholt in the system, that changes things a bit, but those would probably be the only guys that I would say are in that criteria. I personally would have Jordan Walker right now in that criteria. Not because I think he's going to become a superstar, but he's shown enough signs and he's young with enough potential to where I'm not dealing him at this year's deadline. I want to see what this looks like the next 2 months.
I don't think I'd have Walker in that yet. Now, I'm not dealing unless like the offer is the Godfather offer, but
yeah, and you're not getting that.
Yeah,
you'd be selling him at his absolute
like
low point, so there's almost no scenario within realistic outcomes. No, I agreed. None of these guys are truly untouchable, but given what the likely offers are that I'm going to get for Jordan Walker right now, there's nobody that's going to offer me enough to where I'm like, yeah, I've got to move for that. His value's never been lower. He has less control than he ever has before now. He has less production than he ever has before now. And he's finally showing reasons for optimism. So, yeah, I'm not trading Jordan Walker, personally.
I'm not trading him either. You're not getting anything. You're getting scraps back, and I'd rather take the chance on him becoming something still rather than trade him away for nothing.
Exactly. All right, coming up in 15 minutes, we're going to play a game of More Likely to Happen. You guys give us 2 scenarios. We'll tell you which one is more likely here on BK and Ferrario. But coming up next, this might be the last best chance for the Cardinals to move on from Nolan Arenado. Is it going to happen this time? We'll talk about it next here on 101 ESPN. Ready to do this again? It's Groundhog Day here on BK and Ferrario alongside Alex and T-Bone. I'm BK. This comes from Bob Nightingale. The Astros, according to a high-ranking executive, told USA Today that they are exploring the possibility of acquiring Carlos Correa,
Wait a minute.
Eugenio Suarez, or Nolan Arenado at this year's deadline. Quote, the official spoke in the condition of anonymity. Now, they continued along there and basically said, hey, in the offseason, Nolan Arenado said, I'm not interested in coming to your team because I'm not sure if you guys are going to be good this year. Dana Brown then had comments to USA Today saying he misunderstood our plan. I would say that is an accurate representation, considering the Astros obviously are trying to be good if they're trying to acquire you, Nolan. Otherwise, they would have just gone in a new direction with a younger and cheaper and more cost-controlled option. I digress.
Look, man, everybody makes mistakes and judges people early on.
Isaac Paredes might be out for the rest of the season. He might need surgery on his hamstring. Yeah, it's a serious injury, according to the Astros, and they need to replace him. Somebody's got to play third base for the Astros. They want to go out and get somebody that can potentially help them win a World Series while they're still in this window. They are also, according to Ken Rosenthal, in on Dylan Cease. They would like to add him to their rotation as well. So it seems like this is as close to an all-in season as you can get for the Astros. Alex, in the offseason, Arenado said, I'm willing to go to the Astros, and then said, I'm not willing to go to the Astros anymore. Is this time going to be different?
Man, everything inside me wants to say yes, it's going to be different because, like, I feel like this is the time where Nolan Arenado may have come to the reality check of, like, I'm not getting any better. I'm not getting any younger. And now is the chance for me to win a World Series. And it's very evident by comments in the past that, like, what drives him is trying to win a World Series championship. And if Houston's going to go out there and make all of those moves in terms of go after Dylan Cease and looking for an upgrade at third base, I have to wonder if Nolan Arenado's mind has changed of like, hey, this team is good and they are going to continue being good for the next few years. Now's my shot to go win a World Series. And I get, 2 years left on his contract? I get 2.5 years worth of a chance of it. That's what my gut wants me to say. But my head says no, because I just don't think it's going to happen. I don't think Houston's going to be willing to take on all that contract. I don't think the Cardinals are going to be willing to eat as much as Houston wants them to eat. And then it also comes down to, is Nolan Arenado going to agree to it? And I still don't believe that.
One of the big reasons why I think this is at least possible is because the Astros farm system stinks. It's ranked 29th according to some publications, so one of the 2 worst in Major League Baseball. They do not have like top 100 prospects. They don't have really much to give up. Mark Feinsand just updated the Eugenio Suarez market. He said the primary teams in contention for Suarez are the Mariners, the Cubs, the Tigers, and the Phillies. I did not mention the Astros' name there because they don't have what the Diamondbacks are almost certainly looking for.
John Heyman just tweeted saying that Carlos Correa has a full no trade and loves Minnesota, and there's no deal close with the Astros.
It had also been reported today that the Astros are the only team that he would waive that no trade clause for. Jeff Passan saying, while there have been discussions between the two sides, no deal is close. So it sounds like that's kind of making the rounds right now out there as well. So the Correa stuff is far apart. He's got a huge contract, a massive contract. And the Astros have not been a team that's willing to give out that kind of money to many players with a big-time term on it. The Suarez deal feels very unlikely for them because they don't have the prospect capital to acquire him. It all leads back to Arenado. Their owner is and it's because the Astros are highly, highly motivated to make something happen.
Yeah, but it seems like they're a little butthurt over the offseason, which is why I kind of think like he's like their last resort, and I don't think...
Agreed.
I don't think Nolan Arenado is going to be on board with that.
Why? This is your last chance, and I think he has to know that. If he doesn't accept this deal, I don't know when he's going to be able to get to a contender again. Because right now, you know the Astros are a contender. You can move there. You're playing for a team that has clearly shown you, even when they're going through a quote-unquote reload season, we're still a World Series contender. That ain't happening here in St. Louis over the next couple of years. There's no way you can convince yourself of it unless you're just blinded by some, like, loyalty to the organization. I think he has to be more open to it now than he was. And if you're the Astros and you're told no by the Diamondbacks, and you can't make it work money-wise or anything with the Twins, Arenado is probably your only option if you're trying to improve at third base and you want to make yourself into more of a World Series contender. I think this is...
And I think why my head is saying no is because I also have to take in the personal side of it. I don't know if he's going to uproot his family for Houston.
That's the question.
I mean, as much as the World Series is driving him, I mean, we both have kids right now. If your family doesn't want to move, if your family has their own lifestyle in place, you're not going to uproot it. And as much as I agree with everything you just said, and my gut tells me, like, yeah, I think it actually could happen because it's the team that makes sense. You got 2.5 years of World Series opportunities. It all comes back to the personal side of it. And it's the thing that I think people overlook an awful lot. But if you're him and have made it very clear you don't want to uproot your family, why? I'm good.
That's the question.
I'm going to wait for the Dodgers or the Padres to call.
Because I think the Astros will get over it. I think the owner will get involved and say, you're not going to add him because he said no in the offseason. We said no to a bunch of players. We said no to Carlos Correa. Now we're going back to him and asking him to potentially rejoin our organization. Get over yourself. I want to win a World Series. That's what I'm in this business for, is to win.
And the GM's like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, the GM got his job because the guy that was in charge before him was sent out the door packing because the owner was involved. Like, yeah, let's go ahead and see what this looks like. If you're the GM, you only have so much sway. Eventually, just like we're learning here in St. Louis, down in Houston, they got a boss. And that boss, if he wants to add a third baseman...
That boss wants to throw more money out there.
Correct. And if he wants to add a third baseman, and you can't get Suarez because you don't have the capital, and Carlos Correa is just a pipe dream, it's not likely to happen. Dude, the options are slim. Could have gotten McMahon, but he's already gone. He's gone to the Yankees. I don't see many alternatives out there. Because Castro, the kid from Minnesota, I don't know if that's somebody that their owner is going to be interested in to go above the luxury tax threshold, because that's what they're getting into. Arenado might be the one guy that does this. The other thing that could be a part of this conversation, Alex, is the money. Will be a part of this conversation is the money. And that's where I'm curious to see what the Cardinals are prioritizing here, because the more money they pay down, the better the return you're going to get most likely for this. You're also just not going to be able to get rid of the whole contract. Like, I would be very surprised by that. So I wonder if they view this as, hey, it's a sunk cost. We want to get them as much money off of the books as humanly possible. Just do whatever you can to make this thing work. If that means we're paying down $10 million each of the next couple of years, so be it. If we have to pay half of the contract that remains, it is what it is. At least we're getting rid of the other half. And this might be your only chance to be able to do that. I'm fascinated to see the Cardinals' perspective on that, too.
Yeah,
if we get there.
Yeah, I'm still skeptical that we get there, but like they were willing to throw $15 million, I think that's what the report was, $15 million into the problem in the offseason. And I don't know if that would still be like the driving force number, because then you get to a point where basically it would be eating about a third of that contract that remains. And that's not too bad. That should get you a decent prospect back in return. And I agree with you. They're not going to be able to move just the entire contract. That would be a pipe dream. And the Astros will probably want them to eat some money this year to potentially help with that CBT threshold thing that they're up against right now. But yeah, that's where it gets interesting, because the more money you eat, the better the prospect. And I would think that would be what you would shoot for when you're the Cardinals, when you're in this whatever you're in. But if ownership, the boss, as we've been calling them, if the wallet is actually dry and they are trying to save money, I could see where they just settle on, look, we're only going to eat like 5-10 mil. Just get like a package in return and just get this off of our books.
If I'm the Cardinals, I am calling the Astros every day saying, how much do you need us to eat? Don't go to Correa. Don't go to Suarez. How much money do you need us to eat? And once they tell you what that figure is, you go to the boss and say, we have to do this. This is our only way to get rid of the contract. And it's our only way to make things work lineup-wise every day. We've seen what it looks like right now. While they don't have Nootbaar or Gorman in the lineup, dude, everything fits a lot easier. The same thing will be true when Gorman returns to this lineup. If Arenado is no longer here, everything gets a lot easier for them. That doesn't necessarily mean they become a better team immediately, but the playing time is easier to divvy out among all of your players if you're able to do it that way. And then you probably have to just trade one more player in the offseason, and you can choose who you want from your surplus of corner outfielders, first baseman, DH types. You can choose who you want to move among those guys to then go into next season. But this would get you a really nice head start for the remainder of this season and for next. Also, JJ Weatherholt, hey, you want to be a third baseman? Now we've got a spot. Now we don't have to trade Donnie. Now we don't have to trade Mason Wynn to make that spot for you. There is a spot ready to go.
Yeah, but not a 40-man. And he's not going to be up here.
I need to double check this. I heard PT say on the broadcast last night they were only at 39 on the 40-man.
Correct.
Yeah, because the two guys on the injured list, right?
So
No, because yes, but also because they had just, who was it that they just got rid of? Fetty.
yeah.
They just
So how
DFA'd
do
Fetty.
How do we not have,
It's taken.
Again, because the offseason,
guys?
they're actually going to have a glut of players that are on the 40-man.
I've seen the glut.
Zach
Glut
Thompson
is
will
a
be
good
put back onto the
definition.
40-man
Gone.
as well.
This is why you won't see him.
The glut is a good word for what I think the 40-man talent is. You know?
I mean,
you can read that list again. I still am not impressed with the glut of teams.
Crooks, Preto, Nathan Church, Max Rajic, Leo Bernal, Joshua Baez, Cooper Jerpy, Bryson Motts, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, TK Roby as
There's two of them that I'm not putting on that 40-man.
And like Roby would be on the 40-man, then right on the 60-day.
well. Once the season starts.
Yeah.
During the offseason,
well,
though,
then you got to pay a major league minimum.
yeah, and during the offseason, if you place him on the 40-man, like he has to be on the 40-man all offseason. There is no 60-day until the start of the season.
I know. I still heard 4 names I might put on that.
I was saying, I could cut 6 off of my roster right now for position players.
I'm giving you the team's perspective. I agree. They're
wrong.
They've had this as like high-level calculus for the
Meanwhile,
last decade.
10 of the last 16 hits by J.J. Weatherholt in AAA have all been extra base hits.
Hit another homer last night.
Yeah.
More likely to happen is next.
Alex Ferrario with you to talk about my friends out at Classic Air Care who are here to help you take care of your HVAC system. They've been making people comfortable since 1926, whether it's with the incredible technicians that have over 20 years of knowledge, the customer service that you acquire, the financing options that they have for the HVAC systems. If you're in the process of purchasing a new one, all of that is there to take care of you and your family. If you don't believe me, go check out the thousands of 5-star reviews that they have over on Google+, like this one from Michelle. Outstanding service as always. Anthony, very professional, efficient, kind, and provided an explanation of multiple questions we had about our HVAC and furnace units. Also pointed out that our sump pump wasn't functioning, which have saved us from possible upcoming flooding issues. Use the company that is out to help you, and that's Classic Air Care. You can schedule online, or you can give them a call today at 314-530-0578. Make sure you check out their maintenance agreement that they have that's taking care of you year-round. Just do me a favor and tell them Alex Ferrario sent you. That's Classic Air Care and ClassicAirCare.com.
It's deadline season, baby. The Angels are going for it, according to Bob Nightingale. They're officially buyers at the deadline after acquiring Andrew Chafin and Luis Garcia.
Anybody
One
else
player in
asking why?
Chafin that we've talked a lot about in recent seasons, a lefty reliever in Luis Garcia, previously of the Cardinals, goes from the Nationals to the LA Angels. Artie Moreno just can't quit. He just can't quit. He loves going for it when he's got a 5% chance of making it into the playoffs.
To be fair, they're 4 games away from the wild card in the American League, right? You're there.
To be fair, at least an ownership group's exciting. Sometimes it's stupid exciting.
Sometimes.
Always.
They made the playoffs how many times with Shohei Ohtani?
Oh, well, no, none. Sorry, Trout once. But, like, at least, like...
How many games have they won in the postseason
hey.
with Albert Pujols, Shohei Ohtani, and Mike Trout?
Isn't it 0?
It's 0.
But,
Zero
hey,
games.
at least, there's like a little crazy in them, you know?
Yeah, if you're the
I kinda
Angels,
like it.
maybe Artie's probably like, you know what, Houston could fall and fall out of that
I mean, when they play
division lead.
Arenado, they're not going to be much better.
The Angels are effectively in the same spot in the AL wildcard race as the Cardinals are in the NL wildcard race.
Look, the Royals aren't doing anything.
More teams between them and the playoffs than you and the playoffs.
The Royals aren't doing anything. The Guardians are selling. The Rays are selling. The Rangers are selling.
The Rangers are going for it.
No, they're going to sell.
Okay. I think the Rangers are going for it. I think the Mariners are highly aggressive, and you are.
Well, we're not
pretty
talking
far
about the
back from
Mariners.
me. Well, they're in that playoff spot right now, so you'd have to jump them. This is really stupid,
Chance
but
can
hey,
happen.
God bless you. Do
Chance
whatever you
can
want,
happen.
Artie Moreno.
Why do you hate ownership that's willing to buy?
Also from Mark Feinsand, according to him, quote, the Guardians are trying to move both Stephen Kwan and Shane Bieber, according to a source. That is according to Mark Feinsand of MLB.com. So both Stephen Kwan and Shane Bieber on the market now. Alex, you want Shane Bieber?
I always want Shane Bieber.
Got a player option for $16 million next year. My guess is he'll decline that if he comes back and plays well the rest of this season. So that way he can get a multi-year deal somewhere.
Deal.
Stephen Kwan is, I think this is symbolic of this market being really light on position players. It's why I think there's a chance that Oli Marmol gets done.
If I could move off of Sonny Gray, I would so go after Shane Bieber.
I think it would make a lot of sense for the Cardinals if they can get him to re-sign, or if they want to if they can find a way to make him keep that player option intact. That $16 million deal.
And then-
but I don't think that's likely.
Come on, Cardinals. Try and get creative.
Also, 16 mil, that's a lot for our Bucks.
Is
Yeah,
it?
exactly.
Is it?
All right,
Yeah. Just got rid of
314-399.
Fetty contract.
9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for more likely to happen. You guys give us 2 scenarios. We'll tell you which one is more likely here on BK and Ferrario. All right, Alex, more likely to happen. The Cardinals sell on at least 4 relievers or a position player at this year's deadline. At least 4 relievers or at least 1 position player.
So essentially Arenado or their bullpen.
Could be something else.
4 relievers seems like a lot, so I'm going to go with a position player. I think you get 3. I don't think you see 4 relievers. I think John Mozeliak's probably just going to do 1 reliever. So I'll say it's more likely that the position player goes.
I'll say more likely 4 relievers. I'm not buying the smoke around Arenado. I don't think he's getting traded. I think they will move Jojo Romero as the 4th reliever, especially because the Padres apparently are interested, and AJ Preller's nuts. So, yeah, I would see where Preller ends up overpaying for him, so I'll say it's 4 relievers.
I think they're going to move 4 relievers. I hope they move a position player. So I'll go with the 4 relievers as well. Alex?
Guys, more likely to happen, the Cincinnati Reds make the playoffs next season, or the Chicago Cubs fall out of the playoff race next season?
Reds in or Cubs out next year. I would say it's more likely the Cubs fall out. No Kyle Tucker, possible regression candidate in PCA. Pitching doesn't stay healthy. We see that, how volatile it is year to year. They could get 1 or 2 of those guys injured again next year, and then boom, suddenly things come crashing back down to earth. Like Matthew Boyd, anybody think he's going to have this kind of a year again?
No.
I would bet no.
He's going to be signed by the Cardinals.
So, yeah, I would say that's more likely the Cubs fall out next year.
That was my thought process as well. I think that Kyle Tucker is going to have a massive effect on that offense.
Yeah, I would say more likely the Cubs fall out, and it's twofold. One, it is the pitching, as you kind of mentioned. Like, I'm not expecting this for Matthew Boyd again. And the other thing for me is, like, you look at the Cubs offense, it's been very good this year.
Yeah.
PCA's profile is very weird. It goes under the radar, but Carson Kelly's having like a career year. I wouldn't bank on.
Ridiculous
Of course he
offensive
is.
season. An absolutely absurd offensive season.
He's
I
probably
wouldn't
great
bank on
defensively.
that. I also wouldn't bank on, like, say, a Suzuki being this good. He's a good ball player, but not this good. So I would say, yeah, they fall out of it, and I could see where the Reds are the team that leapfrog them, or it's the Brewers have already leapfrogged them, right? So it's possible the Brewers are the team that's going to be the one to catch in 2026.
To put it in perspective, what Carson Kelly has done for them, he is effectively the same offensively for the Cubs what Ivan Herrera has been for the Cardinals. Think about that for a second. How great Ivan Herrera has been for the Cardinals this year. That's Carson Kelly. Dude, Carson Kelly hasn't been like a good player in his career offensively at any point in time. His OPS by year, 680, 730, 700, 560, 540, 580, 620, 880? One of these things is not like the others. I'm going to go ahead and go out on a limb and say that, yeah, T-Bone's right. That's probably not going to repeat itself. T-Bone?
Guys, more likely to be the Cardinals' starting left fielder on opening day of 2026. Ivan Herrera or Lars Nootbaar?
Ivan Herrera.
Ivan Herrera.
I don't think Nootbaar's here next year. I think Nootbaar and Gorman are gone next year.
I'm really curious to see what Chaim Bloom thinks of these young position players. Like, who he believes
You
in.
can ask in November.
I know.
Maybe.
Maybe. He might not talk at that
We
point.
may not have a press conference.
He might have a gag order by the ownership group.
It can't speak till spring training.
Yeah, no, he can't speak to winter warm-up.
But I would say, I would lean Herrera. If I said Burleson, would it change your answer? The reason I didn't do him is because I feel like he can rotate between DH and left.
Yeah. I would probably go Burleson over Herrera as more likely your starting left fielder on opening day of next year.
You could have said Donovan, and I would have still picked that player. I think Nootbaar's gone.
Are you
No,
talking
so
about
Herrera is one of the things
Oh,
I did.
okay,
Right.
gotcha.
'Cause I think I just don't know what Nootbaar's role with the team is
Yeah,
long term.
I gotcha.
I agree.
All right, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for more likely to happen. Let's get to this from the 314. More likely to happen. Mizzou covers their 7.5 total wins this season, or Illinois makes it to the playoff this season.
Mizzou covers the win total.
No chance.
7.5 is the wildest win total. Although Vegas always knows, man.
I know.
We thought that 12 runs was going to be
remember?
scored at the third inning, and 12 on the dot.
I'm going Illinois makes the playoff. I believe in the Fighting Illini this year. Mizzou, Sam Hornier, quarterback. I've seen that guy play football. Out. 7 wins for him.
All right, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for more likely to happen. From the 314, more likely a Cardinal or a current minor leaguer in the Cardinals organization becomes an all-star, or the Cardinals sign an all-star caliber free agent. So a current player in the organization, minor leagues, becomes an all-star, or they sign somebody that is an all-star caliber player. I would say the minor leaguer.
I would say the minor leaguer. It's Weatherholt.
Yeah, I would lean towards the minor leaguer as well. It's Weatherholt. I think you got to have potentially another out when Roby gets back and healthy from Tommy John. Maybe Matthews if he figures it out. Yeah, I would lean position player in the organization.
More likely to be a Cardinal next year from the 314, Gorman or Walker?
I think
Walker.
Yeah.
I think that's easy, especially for the signs of life he's shown. I would imagine you're going to get a slow return from Nolan Gorman in terms of it's not going to be what it was before he got injured. So
more likely to happen, Michaelis is back in 2026 on a sub-$10 million deal, or Chaim Bloom acquires an impact bat this winter.
damn you, because the first one didn't seem possible, and now the first one's probably more likely.
I would say the latter. I think it's
yeah.
more likely he acquires an impact bat. Michaelis is the antithesis of what Chaim Bloom's history suggests that he values in pitching, which is, I believe, a good thing. But
you
I
have
don't
no
think
minor
Michaelis
league
is bad.
pitching depth right now, and you're probably going to have to sign a Miles Michaelis for
I
that
think
contract.
T-Bone's right. I think they're more likely to go the Antrahini route. That feels more in line with what Chaim Bloom typically has gone after.
It's got
that
a little
kind of
swing and
start.
miss. Yeah. I would definitely lean towards impact bat. Now, I don't believe that's going to happen, but
Agreed.
I mean, we just mentioned Nootbaar, right? Like, they've got plenty of pieces that if they decide to package them together, they could be like buyers on the trade market, quote unquote. I can't see Michaelis being back. I agree, BK. He doesn't fit Chaim Bloom's definition of pitching.
I would be very surprised by that, but I've been surprised by other things before as well. All right, he's Alex Ferrario. That is Tanner Hendrickson, and I'm Brandon Kiley. There's a news story up on The Athletic. A Carlos Correa return to Houston via trade with the Twins seems, quote, unlikely for now. The story begins. The Astros and the Twins have indeed discussed a trade of shortstop Carlos Correa, but multiple sources from both teams on Wednesday downplayed the likelihood of a deal manifesting before Thursday's deadline. So here's a great quote from Carlos Correa. In January, he said, "I've got a full no trade clause. Let me tell you something. I love Minnesota. I love the fishing here."
What? There's fishing in Houston?
I love that so much. Why do you want to stay? It's great fishing, man. Great fishing.
Not a fishing person. Props to you, Carlos.
So good. So, yeah, according to this story, this is via both the Minnesota Twins beat writer and the Houston Astros beat writer. They both mentioned this being unlikely, at least at this year's trade deadline.
Jim Bowden
scanning this right now to see if there's anything on Arenado in it, but I don't think there is.
Jim Bowden just said on Foul Territory that a mystery team recently stepped up to a motivating offer for Sandy Alcantara. That's the Cardinals, right?
Probably.
Saw him deal last night against them. Like, we got to go get him back.
Probably.
Cool. Just making sure we're all on the same page there.
Some MLB trade rumors just tweeted out that Phillies could consider a move to the bullpen for Jesus Luzardo. Go ahead and trade for him.
I've always loved Jesus Luzardo. Hasn't he been good this year? Or did he fall off a cliff or something? Because I wanted him when he was even at his lowest point.
Part of the update from the Phillies beat writer was the club could consider a move to the bullpen for lefty starter Jesus Luzardo, depending on how that bullpen looks after the deadline. It remains unclear if they will actually be able to trade for the top targets. So
Sounds like they need Steven Matz.
Luzardo, 4.31 ERA, 10.4 strikeouts per nine, and 121 innings pitched.
another year left on his contract.
Man, you could get
27 years
Bieber
old.
and Luzardo and Alcantara at this deadline.
Too much.
Would you? So here's a question for you: would you target somebody like that in return over a prospect for a guy like Ryan Helsley, or are you targeting prospects?
I would target, if that guy's available, I would target that.
Young, 1 year left of control.
Yeah.
Only 1 year left.
What is he, 20?
27. He'll be 28 next year.
Yeah, I would target that.
I would target prospects. I love Luzardo, but I think they're far away from, like, Luzardo comes in, he's your 1B to Sonny Gray. He belongs as like a 3-4, like on a contending team, like he is right now on the Phillies. He'd be a part of more miscast characters on. He's a good player, but a miscast.
I think
Previous
his
version
role.
of the Cardinals, I think this would have been a really smart move for them. Hell, 2 years ago. Last year, it would have been a really smart move. Make this over getting the Erik Fedde acquisition. But this season, I don't think that's where they're at. I wish it was, but I don't think that's where they're at right now. So I don't think he makes sense for them, unfortunately. I wish he did. Coming up next, you mentioned Sonny Gray. Is he giving off Jaime Garcia vibes right now? We'll talk about it next year on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here. They Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. Cardinals fell to the Marlins yesterday 5-0. They'll be back in action tonight. Rubber match to their 3-game set with the Marlins. 6:45 will be first pitch. Cal Quantrill will be on the mound for the Marlins. Miles Michaelis will get the start for St. Louis. The Sports Center update is driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. CMLondoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
Alongside Alex Ferrario and Tanner Hendrickson, I'm Brandon Kiley. Forgot to tell T-Bone about this, but T-Bone, we're going to have this Sonny Gray audio here in just a moment. Alex, last night, as I was watching Sonny Gray, and then I heard his post-game comments, I thought to myself, man, I remember something like this for the Cardinals, but I can't put my finger on exactly what it was. And I started racking my brain, and I was like, oh, it's Jamie Garcia. It's Jamie Garcia all over again. Jamie was a really good starter for the Cardinals. I don't want to undersell this. Jamie was really good. But it always felt like there was something. There's just always, whether it was a nagging injury or his tummy was aching, he didn't quite feel right. Like his head just wasn't in it for whatever reason. And when you look at the overall results, it was hard to argue with them. But you dealt with all of the other stuff that came along with it. It was like, man, there's just always something here. I listened to Sonny Gray last night, and that was immediately the thing that came to mind for me. You guys have not heard this post-game press conference yet from Sonny Gray. I want to get your reaction live on the air. Go ahead and take a listen to Sonny last night.
Being honest, I'm struggling in the heat to grip anything. So then I threw the changeup early and was like, well, this kind of slips out anyway, so maybe this is something that I can just use. It's tough. It's tough. You're just wet. Everything's just wet. Everyone's dealing with it, obviously, so it's tough to grip anything. Everything's wet. Everything's wet. It is a real challenge and something that I've tried to overcome.
I don't even know what to say. I'm not surprised.
He said everyone's dealing with it, and it's hard to overcome. Sandy Alcantara last night in the same heat, 5 innings, 3 hits, 4 strikeouts.
No runs. 1
wild pitch, so I guess that was the one who was hard to hold on to.
Can I give you Sonny Gray's ERA in the month of July in recent seasons?
I just looked at this.
Well, Yeah.
5.9, 5.9, 4.9, 6.8, 7.8.
Yeah.
It's a thing, man. Like, I wanted to push back against this. I gave Randy a whole hell of a lot of grief for what he said about Sonny Gray breaking down, him and the July summer heat here in St. Louis. I was like, Randy, that's ridiculous. Like, can we please stop with the old school baseball stuff? He was right. I was wrong. It's clearly something that affects him, man. And listen, like, I went on a run on Sunday. My nipples are chapped right now because of it.
Oh, too much info.
There's your tag for the show post later today. My nipples are chapped.
Where's my pen?
I mean, I am also
12:41.
hurting. I pushed through, but I'm also hurting right now. So, like, I get it, man. It sucks out there right now. It's miserable. But I'm also not paid handsomely to overcome the elements.
You think for $20 million you'd let your nipples chap and you just keep going?
Dude. My nipples, they could get chapped as much as they want if I'm getting 35 mil coming
This
my way.
has to be the max on nipple set on PK and Ferrario.
I just, like, man, I hear that.
This isn't a
and
good look.
I know intellectually I can be like, yeah, man, that's right. I get that. That makes sense. That sucks. And then emotionally, I'm just sitting here, Alex, and I'm like, isn't this the job? Isn't the job to overcome that? Like, didn't I just hear Mason Wynn say, I got an injection in my knee. It did nothing. I feel terrible. My knee's completely jacked up. And he's going out there, and he's having the best month of his season.
He's your best hitter right now.
Well, Brendan Donovan goes out there without a bionic arm as the team sucks leading into the trade deadline, and the Cardinals say, hey, you can go ahead and get surgery now on your arm because we're not going anywhere this year at the deadline a couple of seasons ago. Like, all of this is, I see all of this stuff. Pedro Baez is getting crushed behind the plate. The umpire last night, God bless him, was doing everything he possibly could just to stand up straight. And then we hear this. It's like, man, ugh.
Half of his starts this season have gone 5 or fewer innings. Like, that's not a number one, man. That's not an ace of a club.
I'm not sure that's a 2, if I'm being fair.
I mean, you want to know why the offense has been struggling. Like, part of it has to be when you look down on the other side. And I know this probably isn't the case because these guys are individually motivated. They're doing their own thing. They're not worried about the guy that's on the mound. They're worried about themselves when they're at the plate. But, man, you have to look down like a backup goaltender when he's in between the pipes and is like, hey, that first shot is going to go probably in. And then you're down by 1 and you're like, how do we come back from this? If you're the team, you know when Sonny Gray takes the mound in July, it's like, well, he's not going to give us 5 innings, and we're probably going to be down by 3, 4, 5 runs by the 3rd inning. It's just demoralizing, I guess, if you're one of the players. But more than anything, man, like, that's not what you want to hear at this time of the year. That's not what you want to hear for the last 5, 6 starts for him, where he's been able to give you 5 innings at best. It's hot. Dude, you're the ace. You're the guy that's supposed to go out there with one arm and still pitch through to get our team through this rut. You're the guy that's supposed to stop the snowball from avalanching on our team. And instead, it's kind of getting sucked in with the rest of that snowball.
Yeah, he's not that guy. That's okay. Like,
if the Cardinals are motivated to move off of a contract, I think this one might be more of a priority than Nolan Arenado.
He's not going anywhere.
Yeah,
and that's the part that I find fascinating because, like,
I would still have Arenado because at least Sonny's productive. Like, as much as there was stuff with Jamie Garcia, he was productive when he was in his prime. Sonny Gray is still productive. Now, it has not been as good this year as it was last year. All the underlying stuff says it's going to get better. I don't know how long I can point to that before it's like, hey, maybe it's just not going to get better. But he's still productive to the point where I trust eventually this will get better. He strikes out stuff in a way that nobody else on your staff has. But it's frustrating. Nolan Arenado's not productive. So if I'm going to prioritize one over the other, it for me still would be Arenado. Also, there's 2 years left on that deal versus I guess that last year, who knows if it's going to matter because they might not play baseball. But versus Sonny, there's only the one. But man, the more this stuff adds up, the more frustrating it becomes. And somebody on the text line brought this up and said, like, hey, it's not just this. It's also the rain delays. He's getting out after 3 or 4 innings. And you know it's coming. Like, you can ride it. It's clockwork. He's at 60 pitches. It's been a little bit of a slog for him. He's probably coming out because we had a 1 hour delay.
This isn't the team setting limitations on him. This is him setting his own limitations. And, like, how do you operate with that as a number one? How do you operate as that? That's the guy that's the stopper for us.
And I would say that this kind of falls into the story of the Cardinals over the last couple of years. This is why he wasn't a 1 on other staffs, right? He was a 2. He was the 2 or the 3. He wasn't the 1 with the Twins. Pablo Lopez took that role and ran with it. And that was kind of what Randy would say. And I was with BK. I kind of pushed back.
We said, like, hey, he has the production of a 1, but yeah, on a great team, he is probably a 2. That part of his take I did agree with.
But, like, that's part of the story for the Cardinals is he's outcast again, right? He's not in the perfect role that he should be. He should be a 2, but you don't have a 1. So he becomes the de facto number 1 and is supposed to be the guy that stops any snowball from happening. And sure, his stuff looks fine. I think it looks worse than it did last year. But
it hasn't looked fine.
The underlying numbers, like BK said, seem to signal that this is going to get better. But, like, we're what? 40 starts, 50 starts into his career at the Cardinals, and I'm still pointing to the underlying numbers. Like, last year, I thought 3.84 was kind of disappointing from him. And, like, this year, it's really disappointing at a 4.38. And I agree with what BK said. If you're getting the Jaime Garcia stuff and you're pitching well, okay, it's frustrating. I'm not going to come on the radio and even point it out. I'll be in the office pointing it out and complaining to you guys off air. But when you're not pitching well and I'm hearing about it being wet, okay, but didn't Sandy have that? Didn't the last starter you went up against have that issue? This isn't just I'm the only guy that has to deal with this kind of stuff. This is the stuff that every player's dealing with at this point in the season.
You knew when you signed in St. Louis this is going to be part of it, right? Like, nobody's surprised that it's humid in St. Louis. Yeah. And if you were, like,
I'm more surprised it's going to be 80 tomorrow.
Yeah, that's the fun one.
Here's the problem with the Jaime Garcia thing. Jaime was never looked as the stopper on a team. No. Jaime was always the middle of the rotation guy that was giving you elite stuff. And being the stopper has a massive role for a team, especially on a pitching staff. And, like, to say that, like,
but that's not. I can't blame Sonny for that. That's the Cardinals' fault that they put him into that position.
Well, sure it is.
Right? But Harrison Bader never should have been a 5-hole hitter for the Cardinals. That's the Cardinals' fault that he was asked to become that, and so he is then judged accordingly. I'm going to blame the Cardinals for this, not necessarily Sonny for that part.
I could totally blame the Cardinals for that, but I mean, the guy's getting paid to be that for you, and you can't go out there every 5th day with that mindset.
I mean, the Cardinals paid him. If I'm him, I'm like, hey, the Cardinals paid me to be this. They knew who I was. They knew what I brought to the table, and they paid me to be this exact pitcher. His pitching when he was paid, this was a quote-unquote steal of a deal for the Cardinals.
Yeah.
They got a really good bargain for what they are paying Sonny Gray. This is what it costs for quality pitching in Major League Baseball nowadays. And they went with the older version because it's fewer years. And sometimes when you get the older version of a high-level starter, the stuff doesn't quite look the same way that it did 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. So I think a lot of this is on the Cardinals, man. Now,
I just don't want that mindset in my group.
that's
the problem.
fair.
I'd rather have an Arenado who knows he's bad but still giving you elite defense and goes out there even when he's hurt, rather than a guy who is doing this, who's supposed to be in crucial moments for the Cardinals.
I don't really, honestly, like, I struggle with it. I don't know how to evaluate this, honestly. Because I would want this on my team. I don't want this as my number one starter.
Yeah.
So, like, do I blame Sonny for that? Do I blame the Cardinals for that? I have to blame somebody for that because this is not right.
Maybe we don't need to blame anybody. Maybe we just need to live and not be so angry.
Oh, what a boring show then. Okay, let's blame somebody.
Just when I heard that last night, I was like, what?
Oof.
What?
It's probably a good thing I didn't hear it until 12:30. My blood pressure would have been high
Yeah.
in the office at 10.
By the way, other thing that I came to realization last night, as I was thinking about Wilson Contreras, who told the media, hey, I don't want to go anywhere, and Miles Michaelis, who continues to say, I love it here, and Sonny Gray, who I've heard mixed messages on him. Some say he's definitely not going anywhere. Others, seemingly like Erik Kratz mentioned earlier today, like maybe open to the idea of going to a very limited number of places. I don't know what to make of any of that. Nolan Arenado, who's basically said, like, there's like 2 spots that I would be willing to go to, but I love it here in St. Louis. The Cardinals made it very clear over the last, 3 off seasons, you would say, Alex? 4 off seasons, maybe? Our number one focus is signing players who really want to be in St. Louis. Really want to be in St. Louis. And then when you get to the other side of it, and you're now to the back end of these deals, and you're looking to potentially move on from some of these players, they are now going to them and saying, would you like to no longer be in St. Louis? And these players are saying, no, I really want to be in St. Louis. Who could have seen that coming, Alex? It's almost as if you signed them for that reason. And so now they are in a hell of their own creation. They would like to move on from these contracts, and the players keep telling them, no, I want to be here. Honestly, as a fan of the Cardinals, as somebody that lives here in St. Louis, I think that's pretty freaking awesome. That so many players, whether it's on the Blues or on the Cardinals now, say, no, I love it here, dude. I want to play here. I think that is a mark in the direction of this city, right? And that is not something that all cities, all organizations can play. It shows there's still a pull to play for the Cardinals, even when they're not in the best spot. It is also a reminder that when you sign guys that want to be here, they actually want to be here. And they're not saying, I'll waive my no trade clause willy-nilly to go just about anywhere and just send me out of here because, God, I don't want to play for your godforsaken organization any longer. I would also say this. It is probably a mark in the direction of Oli Marmol because it sure seems to indicate people like playing for this team right now. Even though it's not a great situation record-wise, players seem to enjoy being a part of this group. And I do think that's a little bit of a credit to the organization, to the team, and more specifically to the manager and his coaching staff. You guys have anything on that?
No.
I agree on the Oli front. I thought it was noteworthy dating back to 23 when they went through hell and high water, mostly hell. But when there was no reports, because that was the same year where I was like, hey, Bob Melvin's like having guys like, gambling in the locker room. They're not they clearly don't listen to him.
They were playing cards in the locker room. T-Bone is not accusing anybody of sports betting.
No, Class A is not on the Giants. But like
Neither is
all
Shohei
the
Ohtani. There were
reports,
some talks about it.
Hey, that was his interpreter.
but all the reports that came out of San Francisco was like, dude, Bob Melvin's like clearly lost this locker room in the last year under TLR with the White Sox. Or no, sorry, the manager that was after TLR. I can't remember his name. It was like, Lance Lynn, and guys said like guys were napping in the bullpen. It's like, wow, man, they really seem to have lost their way. Never heard that in St. Louis.
Not once.
Never heard that in St. Louis with Oli Marmol, who, by the way, is was, I think at the time, the youngest manager in baseball. And he didn't hear about any of that stuff in the locker room.
Listen, this is the low bar to clear. We're saying you're not the worst of the worst, but it is a bar that they have cleared. So they have not cleared a lot of them.
And it's a
This is
manager
one that they have.
that has the comments that we heard on the Gas House Gang that, like, as a player, that's what I want to be around.
No doubt.
That's the guy I'd rather be on than somebody who doesn't have that mindset.
He's Alex, that's T-Bone, I'm BK. Coming up in about 10 minutes, how will the Cardinals navigate this lineup when Gorman and Newt return? It sounds like they're close. What is that going to look like? We'll talk about it in 10 minutes. The Junk Drawer is next here on 101 ESPN. Hey, it's BK from my friends at Victory Men's Health. It is time for you to unlock your inner champion. The place to do so is with Victory Men's Health. Check them out today. 4 great locations across the St. Louis area. They've got O'Fallon, Missouri, O'Fallon, Illinois, Sunset Hills, and the location that I personally go to in town and country. Whether you have erectile dysfunction issues that you're dealing with, weight loss goals you're trying to meet, or you feel like you may be dealing with some low testosterone and you're not sure about it, they can test those levels for you at Victory Men's Health. They also have vitamin infusion programs. They've got a red light therapy program. They've got cardiovascular testing. It's all at Victory Men's Health. Check them out today. Super easy to book that first appointment. It's online at victorymenshealth.com. When you get there, put in your name, email, phone number. Tell them BK with 101 ESPN sent you and tell them what it means for you to unlock your inner champion. Victory Men's Health has been fantastic for me. They have helped me unlock my inner champion. They can do the same thing for you. Check them out today online at victorymenshealth.com. That's victorymenshealth.com.
A junk drawer with BK and Ferrario.
Three-team trade idea that I want to throw your guys' way coming up here in about 5 minutes on BK and Ferrario. But right now, let's go ahead and get into the junk drawer. Alex, remember when we talked about the murder hornets?
Oh, yeah. People were panicking about those?
Yep. I've got something new for you. Radioactive wasps, you read that right, were found at a nuclear facility in South Carolina. According to a report from the U.S. Department of Energy, just before 2 o'clock on the 3rd of July, Radiological Control Operations discovered a wasp nest on a post near a tank at the Savannah River site in Aiken. Officials say that the nest was sprayed to kill the wasp. The nest was probed and discovered to be highly radioactive, Alex. We've got some radioactive wasps.
One of two things
that are around us now.
We're about to have a superhero that saves
Wasp
the world.
Man?
Well, the Wasp was a female Marvel character.
Oh, yeah. Honestly, I totally forgot about that character.
T-Bone's the biggest Marvel
I was going to say, how did I know that before you?
Ant-Man and the Wasp wasn't a great movie, so.
I liked Ant-Man, though.
Yeah, the first one was
Or
good.
Apocalypse is coming because now we have radioactive wasps, which means they're just going to be huge. Coming from somebody, wasps are more annoying than super hornets or whatever. Murder hornets, yeah, whatever they're called.
Apparently, the wasps, they say, are all dead.
Mm-hmm. Sure they are.
And they have been bagged as radiological waste. So
that's what they said about the Hulk. How'd that turn out?
That going for us. What's the insect or the bug that you have the biggest fear of? I've talked about this before on the radio. My wife has in my opinion, illogical fear of June bugs.
Oh, mine's cicadas.
Yeah,
they're the dumbest animal.
Bomb.
The cicada/locusts are the dumbest animals. Either they're blind, they don't know what they're doing, but they're loud and they run into you.
I don't know if there's really an
Are you
insect.
fearful of them? Like you're walking outside and you hear them, you are fearful.
I refuse to go outside.
I picture him because what was that, last summer the cicadas were here? I picture him like getting to the back door here in Hubbard Radio and just sprinting to the car.
Yeah.
Like
Dude,
a
you should have
madman.
seen me in my backyard when I'm cutting grass. Like I gave up. I left the lawnmower out
That's
there
amazing.
until the evening because I said I'm not doing this anymore. I don't like them. And it's trauma from my father because he used to hold them and put them in my face. Thanks, Dad.
You got that guy a Dad of the Year cup.
Hell yeah, I did.
Mine would be wasps. This would be number one on my list.
I think you got to get. Have you been stung by one?
I've been stung by a bee. I think I am mildly allergic.
I am allergic to bees. So I guess I would put bees on
the
there.
allergies has to be there then, but like I feel like for the people that don't have allergies that are afraid of them, you just got to be stung by them. Like I'm not saying it's fun, but like when you've been stung, it's like okay, it hurt, but it's not the end of the world. I think the fear of getting stung is what makes you a little bit more scared of it.
That's fair.
Like I'm definitely afraid of snakes. I've never been attacked by one, and I plan to never get attacked by one. But I see people that just pick snakes up like it's nothing because they've been bit a couple of times.
Somebody said on the text line, Alex, bed bugs or cicadas? Bigger fear.
Bed bugs, I know how to handle that.
That's your bigger fear?
Fearful of them?
Oh, no, I'm more fearful of the cicadas. I'll take bed bugs any day of the week. They're you know what?
Cicada can't do anything.
I understand that. I understand that, man. Stupidity scares me, apparently. I can handle the bed bugs. It's a you know what to get rid of, but I'll deal with that. I won't deal with the cicadas, man.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. How will the Cardinals navigate this lineup when Gorman and Newt return? I've got an idea to not have to deal with it. We'll talk about that next year on 101 ESPN. T-Bone on BK. The Cardinals are going to have another, stop me if you've heard this before, Alex, another roster crunch to handle in the coming days and weeks. Nootbaar, Nolan Gorman, they're both starting their rehab assignment. I do find it interesting. Keep an eye on this, Alex. Cardinals are sending their guys down to Double-A recently to get their rehab assignment working. That's what they did with Jordan Walker. It's what they're doing now with Nolan Gorman and Nootbaar. Typically, they'll do this if they want them to work with a specific coaching staff. It seems like they really like the hitting coach that is down at the Double-A level. They liked it with Tiger Peterson back in the day. There's Jock's brother, I believe. Now they've got another hitting coordinator down there that they really like. So keep that in mind. That's something worth putting a pin in for the offseason, for example. I want to get to how the Cardinals navigate this here in just a moment, because with Newt and Gorman back into the mix, dude, there is such a logjam, again, of playing time for some of these young players if they don't make any kind of a deal. But I've got a 3-team trade I'd like to propose. You guys ready for this? I was hoping for a little more enthusiasm.
I think that microphone sound.
I think it did it for you. You need his open.
I think so. The Cardinals last year pulled off a 3-team trade. So the White Sox and the Dodgers.
Oh, great. Well, that one didn't go well.
Yeah.
Failed miserably.
Worked out well for the Dodgers, boys.
Yeah.
Well,
two of the guys that I would say are most likely, two of the general managers that are most likely to be involved in a 3-team trade. One, Andrew Friedman, who they pulled one off with last year. Two, the GM of the Padres. Why am I blanking on this?
AJ Preller.
AJ Preller. Thank you. The Padres, I think, could get in on this. And the Astros could get in on this. And the Cardinals are the third team. There has been talk of the Astros trying to acquire Dylan Cease. Here's the problem, Alex. They don't really have prospects. So what is the return? And they don't really have major leaguers that could go the other way, because right now half of the bleeping roster is hurt. And the Padres are looking for controllable players, preferably guys that can play in the outfield for them. I've got an answer for you. Nolan Arenado, you, sir, are a Houston Astro. Cardinals cover half of that contract. Dylan Cease, you, sir, also going to the Houston Astros.
Not seeing the win of the Cardinals right now.
The Padres get Lars Nootbaar, so that alleviates some of this concern that we're talking about with their outfield depth that they're about to have once again. And in return, the Cardinals get prospects. Who? I have no idea.
Good.
The Padres have a ton of prospects. They're the team that would probably have to give some up. Maybe the Astros give you a lottery ticket prospect as well in return for Nolan Arenado. But you're getting prospects. And then on the way out are Nolan Arenado and Lars Nootbaar. Padres get Newt. Astros get Arenado and Cease. You get prospects plus, money / flexibility. How do you guys feel about this? This idea that I just cobbled together. I think it makes all the sense in the world, personally. Can't wait for it to happen.
You just
It'd be
said,
weird if you made an idea that didn't.
You just said one of the sides doesn't even have a good pipeline. So the prospects are coming from the Padres? Mm-hmm. How good are they?
They've got good prospects. They always have good prospects.
Yeah, I was going to say, the Cardinals claim they got great prospects.
People around baseball say, I don't know, probably
I'm looking at their pipeline like they've got guys. Don't know how great they are.
They seemingly have a great system. I don't know.
They got a catcher that's like at the top.
Ethan Salas.
Which would make sense for the Cardinals, right? Because they need more of those guys that they can convert into outfield. Look, it makes sense. It's just, if you're giving up Nootbaar, the whole thought process was you might need to wait till the offseason so that you can get a better return when there's more teams in on it, rather than making the move right now. But if I'm moving off of Nolan Arenado, maybe I would move Nootbaar so I can maximize my return, because I would imagine you're getting a pretty decent return from San Diego if you're trading away Lars Nootbaar.
Yeah, it makes sense because you get rid of a contract / a logjam with Nolan Arenado. You get the one team that one of maybe two that could make sense for Nolan Arenado if he's willing to waive the no-trade clause. So that part makes sense for the Cardinals. And you get the money off the books for what they would call flexibility, I'd call cheap. But then you get rid of Nootbaar and it clears up a logjam. And as I just said during more likely to happen about an hour ago, I just don't know what his role is for the Cardinals moving forward. And I agree with what Alex said. They should get something that would be pretty good for Nootbaar. It won't be anything that's great. You're not getting a top 100 prospect for him, but you would get something that is good, that is probably a top 5 prospect in the Padres system. Agreed. You get that, you probably get a lottery ticket from them, and you probably get a lottery ticket from the Astros.
That sounds great to me.
And if we're being honest, that's what most returns are, right? They're mostly lottery tickets. The Jordan Hicks trade was a lottery ticket. What did they get? They got Kloffenstein and Roberse. The Paul DeJong trade was a lottery ticket. Swanson looks pretty good, by the way, for a lottery ticket prospect. So, yeah, I mean, I would be on board with it. I'm just skeptical that they're going to do that because the way that things seem to be reported is they want Heim to handle all of this in the offseason, which makes me wonder how involved he is with making these kind of decisions at the trade deadline. Because trading the rentals is not a hard decision for Heim or Mo. Both of them would do that. It's the matter of, okay, are you willing to trade away pieces that were thought to be a part of the core? And it turns out this runway season told us they're not.
Somebody said on the text line from the 636, so Dylan Cease and a prospect for Lars Nootbaar? Hopefully Preller is drunk. Guys, Lars Nootbaar has more value on the trade market than Dylan Cease does. Cease has two months of control.
But Cease is going to the Astros.
In this scenario, yes.
Yeah.
But if you're the Padres, your calculus is we are giving up, because they can only think about what is going out of their roster, what is coming in on my roster. Yeah. They are giving up Dylan Cease, and in this scenario, they would be acquiring Lars Nootbaar. So, yeah, they would have to give up more than that. Dylan Cease does not have the same value right now in a trade as Lars Nootbaar would. That doesn't mean that Lars Nootbaar is a better player than Dylan Cease. If you told me for the next 2 months, who would I rather have, Noot versus Cease, I would rather have Cease. But I only get 2 months out of Cease, whereas I get multiple years out of Lars Nootbaar at a cheap, reasonable, cost-controlled rate. That's the value for the Padres. They are looking for guys that they can bring in that are on pre-arb or arbitration year contracts because they're lacking them. Their system is not what it once was. It's still pretty good, but it's not what it once was with guys ready to go at the major league level. They are going to have to flip some of these players that are getting expensive, like they did with Juan Soto, like they have done with others, like they are likely to do with Dylan Cease at this year's deadline, in order to keep pushing in future seasons. So, yeah, I think that is very likely in a scenario like this. Padres would have to give up more than just Dylan Cease in order to acquire a player like Lars Nootbaar. Look, they want to get better.
It's a creative move. And the one thing I blame this Cardinals team that they haven't been able to do is make creative moves. So, I'm in on it. I think at some point you got to start dealing away from the masses that you have in your position player situation. And if I can get a prospect with hope and then some lottery tickets, yeah, I'd probably do it.
Yeah, and the other thing, too, like to your point on the value of these guys, like you look at Lars Nootbaar, want to get control. And as we know, what is the most valuable thing when it comes to trades? It's control. It's not so much production, but it's control and cost. And Nootbaar's not going to be that expensive. He's been 1% above league average so far this year. You look at Dylan Cease, you're betting more on the underlying numbers than what the actual production is for the final 2 months because he leads baseball in strikeouts per 9 at 11.6. He's also walking 3.6 batters per 9 innings. And his ERA plus, which is basically OPS plus 100 is league average, he's 12% below league average in ERA plus. So the Padres are actually selling at a low point for Dylan Cease because of a 2-month rental and hoping someone's willing to bet on upside. And if you're a team like the Astros, it makes sense because you've already got your 1 and 2.
Exactly.
You're looking for the upside 3 that's a rental.
You're basically asking him to be your Brandon Pfaadt.
Yeah.
Like what Pfaadt was for the Diamondbacks, where it was this high upside piece that maybe long term is not going to be this, but can he get hot for a month with a bunch of strikeouts? Cease could be that for you if you're the Astros, and that would be your hope. So I don't think this is particularly likely, but again, it goes back to the question of like, what are the Cardinals doing? Where are they at? What is their plan at this year's deadline? If the Astros are a real possibility to take on the Arenado money, and the Padres and Astros are already talking, it seems, on a Dylan Cease deal, you could potentially expand this to include all 3 teams on deals that are already potentially in the works. And now you also include Lars Nootbaar, because I think the return's going to be tough for the Astros to figure out on any kind of a Cease deal. The Cardinals could help out in that regard, with Nootbaar being the piece that serves as the, like, how do the Padres get made whole in this? And then the Padres could send more to the Cardinals in prospect value. And then the Astros, while their system is not good, they have prospects. Like, they have guys that are further away. And maybe that's what the Cardinals would be looking at here is, hey, they do really well in the international market. Look no further than what is on their major league team right now. Go find guys that are 17 years old as part of, like, their previous international signings and put them into your Florida Complex League and see what they become in the next 6 years. Get 2 or 3 of those from the Astros. Grab a player from the Padres. Boom, you've got a package for Lars Nootbaar that you're betting on upside. How likely is it? Probably not. But all of these players are being bandied about right now, and this is the one thing that could alleviate some of the issues for all of the parties that are involved. If this happens, I promise you I will take a victory lap on this show in
Oh, well, now I hope it doesn't happen.
Coming up next, MLB trade deadline Roundup!
Yeah! You didn't pause before it. There was no buildup.
We'll get that right coming up next here on 101 ESPN.
Home for a personal reason, probably. That's all I know.
I
can't do the
can't
roundup
even think
anymore.
about this anymore. All right, let's get into our
Cops
Major League
and
Baseball
robbers.
trade deadline roundup here on BK and Ferrario. We go through some of the information so that way you guys don't have to keep refreshing your Twitter feed. John Heyman is reporting the Phillies and the Red Sox are among the quote-unquote many teams, end quote, prominently featured in the talks for Yohan Duran. Yankees, Mets, and Mariners also in the mix. It sure seems like this is one that could be done within the next 24 hours, Alex, the closer for the Minnesota Twins.
Well, this will give you the idea or the mindset of what the return's going to be if you're the Cardinals. And if you're the Cardinals, that's really the only other option that's out there that's on the same level as Ryan Helsley as a closer. So it takes one team out of the war, and then the other team that missed out on it becomes even more desperate.
And they will get much more for him than you will get for Helsley because he has 2 more years of control.
Right.
So don't look at the return for Duran and be like, that's all the Cardinals were able to get after they trade him. You will get much, much less for Helsley than they will get for Duran.
But I always love desperation because teams get crazy when they get desperate, and the team that misses out on Duran gets desperate.
Yeah, once you see this, because I was skeptical they were going to move Duran, and I still kind of am, but it sounds like now that there's a lot more smoke, there's fire. This feels like this move happens first, and then the teams will pivot towards Ryan Helsley. But I'm going out on a limb. I'm saying Seattle's making the move. If they're involved, I think they're going to have a huge deadline. They've already showed some aggressiveness. It sounds like Dipoto. That guy, you want to talk about a guy that's aggressive. I think he's going to get Duran. I think he's going to get Suarez. I think he's going to part with 2 or 3 of their top 8 prospects, and they got 8 of them that are in the top 100.
I was about to say, they've got a ton to be able to sell. That's a team that I really want in on the Cardinals prospects. Like the Mariners, the Phillies, and the Tigers, I would say, are the 3 teams that you want to hear connected to your players. And then if you want to throw in like Dodgers, Yankees, Padres, just because those 3 are desperate right now, pretty good group to have interested in your players. All right, next thing up here as we continue with our Major League Baseball trade deadline. Roundup!
I was letting him do that one.
No, you weren't.
I
You
even
weren't
did a
paying
pause.
attention.
You're on BK and Ferrario.
Too busy looking at your crown.
According to Mark Feinsand,
That's good.
The Guardians are, quote, trying to move both Stephen Kwan and Shane Bieber. We talked a little bit about Bieber earlier. Stephen Kwan's an interesting one, Alex. I think it shows you where the market is with position players. The Guardians are typically conservative at trade deadlines. They're not a team that makes a lot of big moves for controllable pieces. If they're willing to listen on Kwan, it suggests the asking prices out there are actually going to be met this time around. And it does make me wonder if the Cardinals could follow suit.
In terms of going after that player or putting controllable pieces out there?
No. To potentially put controllable pieces out there.
I mean,
There's no reason for the Cardinals to acquire Stephen Kwan.
Yeah.
I like him, but he's more
what you have
similar
already.
to what you got.
Yeah, I mean, look, this trade deadline does not have a lot of name recognition. So I think it's a smart move if you're Cleveland. Like, you know, you're not that good of a team. You know that these pieces could garner you a lot in return. So, yeah, I mean, this is the move that I know the Cardinals don't want to do yet because they'd like to wait till the offseason to see with all these controllable younger pieces that they're starting to get answers on. It might be the market to at least put your toe in the water to find out, like, hey, is somebody willing to give us more than what we might get in the offseason because this deadline is so dry?
Yeah, I think if Heim was truly calling the shots, like he was the Pobo right now, I think this is the kind of thing he would do. Because he came from Tampa Bay, and Tampa Bay is the typical team. Tampa Bay and Cleveland are the 2 that say, oh, there's not a left fielder. Hey, we got one. Yeah.
We don't want to move him, but go ahead, Cubs.
Yeah,
We'll take
make
him.
an offer. This is the kind of thing like I would expect Bloom to do when he takes over if the Cardinals have players like this, like Donovan, Newpark, guys like we've been talking about, Mason Wynn even potentially, since they are at a logjam in the infield. That's the kind of move I could see where Bloom, when he officially is in this title and not on the like kind of advising, kind of running the show thing, that he'll be willing to make once we get to both the offseason and future deadlines.
It sounds like, according to Jim Bowden, quote, Nolan Arenado is not an option for the Astros, end quote.
And BK's 3-team trade.
Hey, well, you know what? We had at least 2 segments out of it today for Arenado, so good on us. Take advantage of it now.
There goes my thumbnail.
Now just wait for Arenado later this afternoon to come out and say, yeah, I'm not going anywhere.
I thought our thumbnail was BK's nipples are on fire.
No.
No,
what was it? It wasn't on fire.
Like this in the
BK's nips are chapped. That's what it was.
Jim Bowden also saying today on Foul Territory. We talked earlier today, by the way, with Erik Kratz of Foul Territory. Check that out on the podcast page, 101ESPN.com, the free 101 ESPN app. Podcasts are always sponsored by
Shaver Door Company.
Bowden saying he expects Dave Dombrowski to, quote, pay a price he doesn't usually pay at the trade deadline. I feel like he always pays a pretty hefty price, but whatever.
No, not this
Quote,
one.
One of his top prospects is going to be gone tomorrow.
Good.
Where do you guys think Ryan Helsley ends up landing? Where'd you predict? Because it seems like they are at least one of the teams prominently featured among the Ryan Helsley sweepstakes. Where do you think he ends up?
I'm gonna say Philly. I think that's the team that's desperate for a closer. That's the team that if they're willing to get crazy with it, I think they're the ones that would make that move for Helsley. So I'll say Philly.
I've been leaning Philly most of the season going into when we thought they'd be sellers because they were the only team that I can remember that was kind of publicly, hey, there's a little bit of smoke. Phillies have interest in Helsley in the offseason. And there were others, but they're the only one that like stood out to me then, and they're the one that stands out to me now. Dombrowski's always willing to go out and fix his bullpen, go acquire those pieces at the deadline. I think they'll make the move for Helsley.
I'll go a little different. I will say that the Toronto Blue Jays end up acquiring Ryan Helsley. They've been aggressive already. They got Sir Anthony Dominguez yesterday. They are in first place in the AL East. Quietly, they are now tied atop the standings of the American League with the Detroit Tigers. They're having a great year. They're, as close to all in as you can be with this era of Blue Jays baseball. They need to capitalize on it, man. Coming into this year, the question was like, man, are they ever going to be able to cash in on this core group of players? And it seems like they might be able to this year. I think they're going to continue to push, and Ryan Helsley will be one of those final additions.
Who's the team that you hope he goes to because of the return?
San Diego, probably.
Mine's San Francisco, or not Seattle.
That makes sense.
I think Seattle's got more position players that are towards the top of their prospect pool, and that's what the Cardinals are really hoping for.
Honestly, I don't really care. Just give me a really good, high value prospect on the pitching side of things in return. If I can get that, I'm happy.
Yeah.
Whichever prospect system that comes.
I just want to see more chances on the position player because I want to see if they can find a starter that route rather than the pitching side.
Makes sense. All right, next thing up here as we continue our Major League Baseball trade deadline Roundup here on 101 ESPN. Guys, do you think that we will see an active deadline tomorrow? It's been a stinker thus far.
Yeah, I think we're going to see an active one. I don't think it's going to be anything that's earth-shattering with all of the big names going. I think you'll see one big name go, and then you'll just see a lot of other trades that take place.
Who do you think will be labeled as the team that quote-unquote wins the deadline? We always see these, right? There will be a winners and losers column that's written over on The Athletic, ESPN, all these different things. Who do you think will be labeled as the team that won the trade deadline?
I think I'll give you two from two different leagues.
Okay.
I said Mariners earlier. I think they're going to be aggressive. They've got a ton of talent. They've got great pitching. This feels like the year you push it all in. So I'll say Seattle's the AL team that wins the deadline. And I think the National League is going to be the Dodgers again. They are connected to everything that's got control on it. Stephen Kwan's got control. Dodgers are in. Duran, he's got control. Dodgers are in. I think the Dodgers are going to be super aggressive, and it makes sense. They're in their winning window now. Now, granted, when you have an unlimited payroll, you're always in your winning window, but I'll say Dodgers are the one that win the deadline in the end.
Mine were the Astros and the Cubs.
I was going Astros as my winner.
I think the Astros are going to get a pitcher and probably going to get an infielder that makes them even more lethal. And I really think the Cubs are going to acquire one of these pitchers, whether it's Alcantara, whether it's Gallen. I think they're going to acquire a front-end starter.
I'll go Houston as my winner, and I'll go loser. I'm curious your guys' opinions on this as well.
Cardinals.
Brewers have the best record in the National League, and everything that I've read is they're not going to be active.
Yeah, but they already made their moves.
I hate this. Dude, this is a season where the National League does not have a super team. There were teams that were supposed to be that coming into the season. The Mets haven't been that. The Dodgers pitching has been broken. The Padres offense has been broken. The Cubs are good, and they can hit for sure, but the Brewers pitching is better than what the Cubs have to offer. Go add to your offense, guys. I'm not asking you to go add a ton, but can you get like two more position players, even if it's platoon bats? Just get something that lengthens your lineup a bit to improve your odds once you get into October. That team is worthy of investing in. If I was a Brewers fan, I would be incredibly frustrated that we're not trying to do more to improve at this year's deadline. So they would be the team that I would pinpoint as a potential loser, given the fact that right now they have the best record in all of Major League Baseball.
Yeah, I think the Yankees are going to be the loser.
I thought about them.
I think the Yankees are going to be the team that has all the money available to them. They got prospects that they can give up on, and they're not going to be aggressive to fix the needs that they have. Which they got a lot of them, but
I think the two for me that I pinpoint right away as the losers are the two that are fighting for the wild card spot. Because I think the Padres are stuck, man. They want to move Cease, and the Astros are interested. we've been talking about how do they make that happen? Probably a 3-team trade. Well, if Arenado don't want to go to Houston, okay, well, I guess we're out. And the other one is the Reds. The Reds, they say they're buying, and then they're not connected to anybody. and I don't know what they're doing. Like, they're looking for offense, and I saw a report, I think it was Ryan O'Hearn was the name, and they're like, yeah, we don't know where we'll play him, but Ryan O'Hearn makes it. I'm like, well, if you don't know where you're going to play him, does it really make that much sense? So I think it's going to be the 2 wild card teams, because I think the Padres are just going to back into this. I don't think the Reds are going to do enough to catch them. He's
T-Bone. That's Alex. I'm BK. That was your Major League Baseball trade deadline.
Roundup, yeah!
On 101 ESPN. We'll continue to keep you guys updated as things go along. You can follow all of us on Twitter for our personal insights and analysis on any deals that may affect the Cardinals. I'm at BK Sports Talk. Alex is at Ferrario 101 ESPN. Tanner is at T-Bone 101 ESPN.
And unavailable.
You can follow us on Twitter at 101 ESPN for the station. Coming up next, Chris Kerber, the voice of the Blues, here on BK and Ferrario.
Hey, listen, when something goes wrong with your air conditioner, or maybe it's the wintertime and it's your furnace, the first thing you think of is, who am I going to call? And then the second thing you think of is, my goodness, I just want to make sure that I can bring somebody into the house that I can trust. Well, here's what I can tell you. You can trust the folks at Classic Air Care. It's that kind of customer service and trust that they have built up for nearly 100 years with their customers, and that's why they've got a 4.8 Google rating. That's also why I trust them to take care of my house. I travel a ton in the winter. I need to know that it's working so the family is safe, the family is comfortable while I'm gone, and I know if something comes up, I know that they can get in there and take care of it right away. So whether it's a repair, whether it's maintenance, whether it's one of their maintenance plans, maybe you need to replace your entire unit. Maybe you just want to go onto their website at Classic Air Care and buy air filters. It's all there for you. These are people you can trust. You can read all the ratings that people have put on there and the reviews as the quality of the customer service they bring, and they are proud of it. Classic Air Care. Book an appointment online at classicaircare.com. You can trust them. I do. They've been making people comfortable since 1926.
Tanner Hendrickson here with a Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Cardinals fell to the Marlins yesterday 5-0 rubber match of their 3-game set against Miami is tonight. 6:45 will be first pitch. Cal Quantrill will be on the mound for the Marlins. Miles Michaelis will be on the mound for St. Louis. The Sports Center update is brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin heating and air conditioning dealer.
Stuff.
I think I blew BK's mind.
I'm going to read you a headline. This is all a headline from online. This is from the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Central District of California. Former NBA star Gilbert Arenas and 5 others were arrested on what has been alleged as a federal indictment that they were part of an illegal gambling business. It continues from there. His nickname, of course, is Agent Zero, is charged with 1 count of conspiracy to operate an illegal gambling business, 1 count of operating an illegal gambling business, and 1 count of making false statements to federal investigators. Oh, boy.
The tagline on it said, former NBA star and suspected crime figure arrested on federal charges.
My God, man.
It's like Casino Royale.
So there's that. Yesterday, was it Marcus Morris who was arrested for writing fake checks, writing checks that were bouncing, and he knew that that was the case, allegedly.
Some
a lot of
wild
stuff going on, man. Now you've got the 2 pitchers for the Guardians that are under investigation for sports betting as well. A lot of stuff going on in the world of sports. All right, he's Alex, this is T-Bone, I'm BK. Happy to go out to the Callier and Thompson hotline where Chris Kerber, the voice of the Blues, is ready to join us here on the show. Kerbs, I know you're a Cardinals fan at heart. You are part of the city of St. Louis, and they mean a lot to you. What do you hope they do tomorrow at the deadline?
Well, I am going to the ball game tonight and looking forward to that. So, pretty simple for me, guys. I hope that the Cardinals stay true to what their plan was at the beginning of the year. Put the young kids in position, see what you actually have at the major league level, continue to develop guys like McGreevy and Weatherholt down at the minor league level. If they step in, they step in. And I'll be honest with you. Like, I don't think you get off this course at all. I don't think you let the success just above 500 of this season when you didn't expect to be there change your plan at all. This is not a team that you go, hey, let's just get in and then maybe we get lucky. Like, you're just not that deep. You're not that consistent. You're not ready for it. So to me, I actually think, and I think it's been this way, to be honest with you, for a while. Listen, had they gotten to this point and they're talking 12, 15 games over 500, maybe I'm feeling a little bit different on this. But since they've had great moments and then they've had these down moments that lead to the inconsistency you truly, really kind of expected, you're looking at whatever you can do to make a move. So what do I hope they do? I hope that in the end, if they do find a deal for an Arenado, if they do find a deal that includes a Donovan or maybe one of the, these pitchers, Helsley, whatever. The ultimate key, guys, is they've got to get something back for them. They have to improve, in my opinion, their track record of getting some impactful players back in trades. You're not always going to hit, but you've got to hit more often than the Cardinals have hit recently. So, honestly, that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm not looking forward to any impactful move on this season to change the course of the next couple of months. I think they've been a solid team. They've been, for the most part, frankly, a reasonably entertaining team that's shown some good sparks. There's reason to go to the ballpark. There's reason to watch some of these young kids play. That's why I'm looking forward to going tonight. And then I look forward to the continued growth, because to me, it's not about this season. It's about making moves that are going to make you better for 2, 3, 4 years down the road, and then you're consistently good again for a long while.
Curbs, you've been through plenty of lockouts with the NHL during your time as a broadcaster, and we had the conversation yesterday about the potential of a lockout for baseball. Bryce Harper and Rob Manfred had their square off in the clubhouse. How negatively impactful will it be for just baseball if they get to that point moving forward?
I think it will be brutally negative for them. And, the thing of it is, look, I've been with the Blues, and there have been 2 different lockouts, but I also remember the baseball strike of 94. Look, here's the one thing that somehow the NHL, despite losing an entire season in 03-04 and then half a season in 12-13, they seem to have come out in a stronger, better position business-wise, right? And that's if you go back and you read what supposedly some of the comments that Bryce Harper made, they're kind of related to that. Well, yeah, that's the job of the owners. They want to make their business stronger. Here's the one thing that I just don't think, and now baseball's always done this. Baseball has managed more than any other sport to put these negotiations right out in front in public, right? And to me, it's just a matter of how much the public is going to stomach this. And I just don't think in today's world that there's a whole lot of stomach for this, where you're not going to have people. There's no bleeding hearts for Bryce Harper, guys. I mean, it just doesn't exist when you're signing the kind of contracts. My big concern, honestly, I don't know where you guys are at on baseball. My big concern with them is, okay, if you're going to sign players like Ohtani to $700 million contracts, okay, I mean, you're not doing that unless you have the money. However, the issue is they've got some of these contracts, so many of them are starting to go deferred money, that really what you are doing is you are mortgaging, in a lot of ways, parts of your future. And if the majority of contracts start to go that way, or you get a good amount that go that way, right, when unknown factors creep in and those contracts are due, you could really impact the business. So I'm curious how so much of that is going to go. But unfortunately, I think this is just going to get louder and louder and louder and hang over baseball's head for the next season and a half.
Yeah, baseball, different teams deal with that differently, but I know for the Cardinals, this was a big thing here in St. Louis for the Waino contracts, where apparently they put that money into an account, it's set aside, and they take that for like that year's payroll, and it's a whole thing, Curbs. But anyways,
very confusing.
It's created, and as we've seen with the NHL guys, you can put a salary cap in there, and then it's the job of these general managers or presidents of hockey ops or baseball ops to find ways to circumvent it and utilize every law and rule as they can, and they do a very good job of it.
So, Curbs, you mentioned they've got to start winning some trades, and we're talking to Chris Kerber, the voice of the Blues, here on 101 ESPN for another couple of minutes. I just looked this up. On their 40-man roster right now, they have a total of 8 players that they traded for. Now, among those 8, 5 were players that they acquired in the sell-off in 2023 at the deadline. That's J.C. Swanson, King, Roby, and Robersa, both of whom are pitchers that are in the minor leagues that are hurt right now. Another one of those that is on the roster, the 6th, is Jojo Romero, who was acquired again via a trade at a deadline when they traded Edmundo Sosa to the Phillies a few years ago. The only 2 guys that are like off-season deals that they went out and they were trying to like reshape their roster that are currently on their 40-man roster are Matthew Liberatore and Nolan Arenado. So, Curbs, it's a really good point. This is a team that just has not made those trades that you would think can improve your roster the way that, for example, Doug Armstrong has over the years, where it's almost a challenge trade. You're trading one guy for another. They did one of those this offseason with Bolduc for Mayu. They've got to start getting back to that. That feels like that used to be the roots of what the Cardinals were.
So I think the parallels between the Blues and the Cardinals here are a fascinating topic we could spend an hour and a half on. I really do.
We've got 4 minutes.
And it's not all negative, right? It's not all negative on the Cardinals, by the way. I don't mean that in that sense. But I think what happened, and in my opinion, one of the things that kind of happened is the Cardinals got trapped, okay? And they got trapped at the end of Molina, Wainwright, and Pujols, especially when Pujols came back, right? And there's a great charge. There was electricity in there. But you kind of got trapped for the few years of what type of team are we? I think you can make the case that the St. Louis Blues and Doug Armstrong could have been more aggressive in keeping some of that 2019 core together and maybe have been more competitive for a longer stretch. But they decided organizationally we're going in a different direction. We're moving some of these pieces. Now, we're going to find out how good that direction was, because we don't know what any of those first-round picks are really meaning yet in the NHL. They're not here yet, right? So the jury's still out on some of those moves that Doug made. But they just made a decision in a direction. And look at that. They've stuck with this over the last couple of years. You're high on Bolduc, but they just made the trade, for Mayu. They weren't overly active at a trade deadline, but when they had a need, they went out and found a Cam Fowler, et cetera. Okay, to me, the Cardinals really just got lost in direction of trying to stay competitive. And that's why when John Mozeliak, for example, the other day said, look, we're hoping to find a way we can stay competitive while we're doing this. It's okay to say we're not as competitive as we need to, but we need to rip this Band-Aid off and actually make some moves that are going to make us really competitive down the road. And that, to me, is where the difference is. So, yeah, the other thing is they've got to do a better job, as you know, of evaluating their own internal talent. Over the last 5 or 6 years, you've seen too many good players be let go or traded the other way. And I think that the scales have to turn back into the favor of the St. Louis Cardinals for those moves to really be impactful. And once they get on that track, I think this organization will be right back to where they need to be.
Kerbs, an interesting trade just went down in the division between two teams that do not trade with each other very often. So we're going to talk about that coming up on the other side. Appreciate the time, as always, Kerbs. We'll talk with you again next week, my man.
Love it, fellas. Have an awesome week. Stay cool.
See you, Kerbs. It's Chris Kerber, voice of the Blues, joining us as he does each and every Wednesday here on BK and Ferrario. The Cincinnati Reds, according to Jeff Passan, are acquiring third baseman Brian Hayes in a trade with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Hayes, according to Passan, is among the best defensive players in baseball. Has 5 years of club control beyond this season. This feels like one of those trades, Alex, that is going to get a lot of fanfare, and I'm not sure that it should. We'll discuss it on the other side in the Rewind here on 101 ESPN.
Run it back with a daily rewind on BK and Ferrario. Brought to you by Gloria Loom, your home sold guaranteed realty. Selling your home begins at GloriaHasTheBuyers.com.
Interesting deal just went down in the NL Central. The Pirates are trading Ke'Bryan Hayes to a divisional rival in the Cincinnati Reds. Alex, Ke'Bryan Hayes is a player that I think everybody views a little differently. He's an elite defender. Everybody agrees with that. It's just a matter of what value does that have, because he's a terrible offensive contributor. Based on, like, Baseball Savant has a stat called batter run value. Basically, how good are you offensively? He's in the first percentile. In other words, he's the worst among all batters in Major League Baseball this season. So how good can you be? How much value can you have if that is how bad you are offensively? The hope here, if you're the Cincinnati Reds, is, hey, you're coming to a ballpark that's a little bit easier for hitters to have success in, and we think we're going to unlock something with your swing. We'll see if that actually happens. Alex, what do you think about the trade? Ke'Bryan Hayes sticking in the division, but going from the Pirates to the Cincinnati Reds.
I mean, it doesn't make much sense because I thought Cincinnati just needed more offense, and obviously Hayes is not it. But, I mean, to me, I look at this and I say, cool, Cincinnati must have saw something that says we can fix this. We can untap this potential. And if that's the case, man, you acquired an elite defender, a Gold Glove favorite every single year. So one of the most important positions on the field is good for you for, 5 years now. And if you figure out a little bit more offense out of this, man, I mean, it's an aggressive move. It's a creative move. You just got to hope that you understand the player and believe you can untap something with him. So, I mean, me personally, I just like the fact that it was a division trade. I hate the fact that people say you can't make division trades. Look, man, if there's a player out there, make the move and see if you can pull it off.
Yeah, I don't really get where the Reds are going with this kind of a move, because they claim they want to improve their offense, and Hayes doesn't do that. And now I probably undervalue defense, but man, like when you're that bad offensively, like Ke'Bryan Hayes is, like that's catcher type numbers. Yep. And they would tell you probably catchers impact the game more than a third baseman. So I'm surprised they made this move and they gave up what looks to be a decent prospect. What'd you say, a former second-round pick last year?
I haven't seen that prospect return anywhere. Yeah, here it is from Ken Rosenthal. Yeah. So he is former second-round pick, shortstop prospect. He's far away. He's only 20 years old. But, yeah, a legit prospect in the Red system right now.
Yeah, and like, so I find it a little surprising. If I were the Reds, I'd rather have used that prospect in another package to go get a bigger offensive upgrade. They have to see something. So I think it's going to be fascinating to see what they're able to unlock with Ke'Bryan Hayes.
Again, another reminder, this market is starved for position players, man. And if the Cardinals, they remain in such a weird position because they have the players to provide for this kind of a market, and they seem so reluctant to let any of them out of their grasp. So we'll see what they decide to do. They've got about 28 hours-ish before we get to the trade deadline tomorrow, as it is deadline day here on 101 ESPN. Tomorrow we'll have a Redbird Report special tomorrow starting at 6 o'clock to break down whatever it is that the Cardinals do. But yeah, it's a starved market for position players. Cardinals have a bunch of them. It sure doesn't seem like many of them are likely to go. Alex will be breaking that all down tomorrow beginning at 11 a.m. here on BK and Ferrario. Cardinals back in action once again tonight with Miles Mikolas on the mound against the Miami Marlins. They're going up against Cal Quantrill, who has not been very good this season. Do you think the Cardinals are going to be able to take this series against Miami?
Yeah, I say they win this one. I say they take advantage of a bad hitter after a shutout last night. So I say they win it 5-2.
I'll say they win, but I think it'll be close. I'll go 3-2.
I'll say 6-4 tonight. A little bit of a higher scoring game. I mean, it's Mikolas versus Quantrill. What do you want? Cardinals versus the Miami Marlins.
Mikolas shutout last time.
Get a win before the off day tomorrow, deadline day here on 101 ESPN. Before we get back tomorrow, do you guys believe that the Cardinals will make a trade by the time that we come back on the air tomorrow at 11 a.m.?
No, I think this goes up closer to the deadline.
I think they'll make one. I think they'll move one of Maton or Matz. I think they'll hold out on Helsley till tomorrow.
I think, if I was to guess, I think Matz goes today since he pitched last night. That would be my guess, is that he's the one that ends up getting traded at some point between now and the start of our show tomorrow. If you guys missed anything else from our show today, be sure to check it out on the podcast page, 101ESPN.com, and the free 101 ESPN app is where you go to find it. We had Erik Kratz on the show earlier today. We talked about the Cardinals' offense struggling mightily recently with, I think it's 9 shutouts in their last 40 games. All of that on the podcast page today. We will talk to you guys tomorrow at 11 a.m. The Fast Lane's coming up next here on 101 ESPN. I went on a run on Sunday. My nipples are chapped right now because of it.